Hey guys, it's Gala Avery from the Video Archives podcast. While we're shuffling tapes and gearing up for season 2, Quentin and Roger have sent me on a mission all around Los Angeles and beyond to talk with filmmakers, photographers, VHS collectors, and other interesting characters. What are we going to be talking about? Well, that's up for my guests to decide. On the Gala show, guests have 30 minutes to talk about whatever topic they want you to know about. Filmmakers like Josh Miller will tell us how he found his tribe, while writers like Larry Karaszewski will let you know what he considers to be a true LA movie. VHS collectors like Connor Holt make an argument for the genre of pirate movies, while writers like Josh Olson are going to let us in on what he considers to be right-wing cinema. Actors like Percy Hines White will share his love of outsider art, while animators and cartoonist Sierra Nielli will reminisce on his experiences of growing up in a Philly pizza shop and how this time in his life influenced him to pick up a pencil. So, join me every Thursday for a new guest with an entirely new topic. The Gala show premieres October 26th, available wherever you get your podcasts. On this episode of the Video Archives podcast, don't look for these guys in church. Quentin and Roger take a trip with the LAPD as our boys in blue blow off steam in the Choirboys. Directed by Robert Aldrich and based on the outrageous best-selling novel, this movie had issues surrounding its release. Roger and Quentin take a second look at the film, discussing Aldrich and his associates, the large-scale casting of the film, and the scenes that work. Next up, the most intensive manhunt ever mounted. It began on the 1st of November. Its object, to find Hennessy, a gentle, peaceful man who has been pushed too far and carries in his right vest pocket the power to destroy a nation. A suspense thriller based on one man's revenge, Roger and Quentin sit on the edge of their seats as they cheer for Hennessy.
Go, Hennessy, go! Run!
Another Rod Steiger performance. We talk all about how the plan unfolds, the seamless documentary footage, and a surprising cameo who may just win Best Supporting Actress. And last but not least, we travel to the sea in Amphibian Man, also known as Человек Amphibia, a popular Russian fantasy film. In this fable, based upon the novel by Alexander Belyaev, a pearl diver discovers the secret behind the Amphibian Man and desires to exploit it. The only problem? The Amphibian Man has fallen in love with the pearl diver's fiancée, and with each passing day, their connection grows stronger. A poignant story of love and loss, Quentin and Roger discuss the history of this popular movie, the crazy science fiction inventions of the film, and the very cool Amphibian Man costume. I'm your girl, Gala Avery, and joining us now, here's Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery.
Thank you very much, Gala.
Thanks, Gala.
Welcome back to the Video Archives podcast, Kill the Bakalov. And so we're dealing with 3 fairly interesting movies, all right, in order for us to talk about in today's episode. Let's start it off right away with a movie that came out in December of 1977 by one of my favorite directors, and in almost every way you can be a favorite director if you're a director, Robert Aldrich, and his adaptation of Joseph Wambaugh's book, The Choirboys.
I'm Scrooge, Sergeant Scrooge, Vice Squad. Maybe you read about me in the bestseller, The Choirboys, like 6 million other people. Now it's one crazy movie. One guard, you get yourselves hurt, I bust your arm. Wayland? The Choirboys.
You'll never see some of this stuff on television. Rated R, now playing at a theater near you.
Robert Aldrich's outrageous film, The Choirboys, with co-hit Hennessy, will be playing on spectacular 35mm film for 2 nights on Tuesday, March 7th and Wednesday, March 8th. 7165 Beverly Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90036. For more information, visit thenewbev.com. The New Beverly Cinema, always on film.
Now, I saw this in 77 when it came out. I saw it with my mom and her boyfriend at the time, Marco, who was a really fun guy. And so we saw it at the South Bay. And it was one of those movies where I loved it in 77. I thought it was hysterical. I thought it was, I think most of the whole audience thought it was hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
People were just laughing their asses off. And my mom and Marco really liked it. Now, up until this point in time, I had, I was reading novelizations of books when they came out. And every once in a while, you'd pick up a novelization, what you thought was a novelization. It turns out the movie was based on a real book. And now they've just printed the book with the cover of the movie on it. And that was ever so good, all right, because, that's actually different. That's too different from the movie. I didn't like that when that happened. So I tried to look out for that. Mm-hmm. The Choirboys was the first time that I liked a movie so much that I went out to buy the book because I figured there'd just be more material in it.
So you actually read the book?
So after I saw the movie, I went out and bought the book. But this is the only time I actually read the book because I liked the movie so much.
You wanted more raunchy
I just
behavior.
wanted more. I wanted more material.
Yeah.
And I love the book. Joseph Wambaugh became one of my favorite novelists from that point on. I read the Black Marble after that. I never read the New Centurions, even though I've had it forever and I've always wanted to.
Onion Field?
I never read those. I saw the movies.
Yeah.
I saw the movies.
Onion Field was like one of the books that was in, it seemed not just my home, but growing up, but it seemed like every one of my friends, their parents had
and they
a
talked
copy
about
of
it a lot. Yeah. But I remember talking with Bret Easton Ellis. We're talking about, we're the same age, and we were talking about different novelists we grew up with and started reading. And I mentioned I went through a Joseph Wambaugh phase, as a young man, like 13, 14, 15, 16. He goes, oh, yeah, me too. No, I absolutely did. Of course you did. Wambaugh was a man back then. So what is the movie that we're talking about? Let me read the back of the box. Okay, so this, by the way, is MCA Universal tape. This is from, not from the archive. We didn't have it at Archives. This is from the Eddie Brandt's collection. And this is one of those times where the back of the box actually does the worst job in the world of describing the contents of the movie. The raunchy, hilarious exploits of 10 metropolitan policemen explode on screen in this fast-moving black comedy based on Joseph Wambaugh's best-selling novel. James Woods, Charles Durning, Louis Gossett Jr., Perry King, Randy Quaid, and Burt Young lead a group of rank-and-file policemen from the Los Angeles Police Department who look for ways to cope with the pressures of the job. Dubbed Choirboys for their after-hour reveilles, they meet for choir practice, periodic relaxation sessions at which the group gets drunk, chase women, play practical jokes, and reveals their innermost fears. Directed by Robert Aldrich, this outrageous comedy gives an eye-opening glimpse into the lives of the boys in blue, who follow a simple gospel: work hard, play harder. Color, 2 hours. Rated R. Okay, that's actually not that great of a description of the movie, as per usual for these boxes. But
it lays out a couple of important things.
It does lay it
important
out.
Elements to know, that which is the biggest bullet point for me that they actually nailed, was that these guys are under so much stress that they have to blow off steam. Yeah,
that's the idea. Is Joseph Wambaugh, he was a Los Angeles police officer. He's taking a look at the patrolman's life, the day in, day out life of a boy in blue.
A beat cop.
An absolute beat cop in the car, responding to calls. One of the things that's interesting about the movie is it's got a gargantuan cast. It has like 15 lead, interesting character actors of the time and up-and-comers of the time. Now, it really only follows about 6 of them with any kind of depth whatsoever. Mm-hmm. You can tell a lot of footage was like shot and left on the cutting room floor by Louis Gossett Jr. But it's still a huge cast of characters, and the movie makes an attempt to follow a lot of them around. Like there's different harrowing things that happen. There's different black comedy things that happen. There's different humor of grotesquerie that happens.
There's tragedies.
There's tragedies that eventually end up happening. Yeah. And some tragedies that happen earlier on, they're played for laughs, which are the part of the movie that works the most. But the point being, though, of the film is these guys deal with so much. Their lives are, like men in war, are heightened to such a degree that they have to do some blowing off of steam. And the blowing off of steam happens at what they call choir practice, which is usually just some drunken party where they act like just complete slobs, either that they have at somebody's house or they have in MacArthur Park. Yeah,
it's like weirdly in MacArthur Park or maybe Westlake.
No, it's absolutely positively MacArthur Park. Yeah, it's absolutely MacArthur Park. And so the fact that rather than have it at somebody's apartment house, you would just like take over the duck pond of MacArthur Park. But that's what they do, and they're cops. They're able to get away with it. they do crazy antics, and they have hookers that visit them, and
they play pranks on each other,
and they play really funny pranks on each other, and it's just, it's out of control mayhem. But that's their way of blowing off steam, which frankly isn't too dissimilar. As a filmmaker, it isn't too dissimilar from the way a crew blows up steam at the end of a given week. You finish, you work all week long.
It's intense work.
It's intense work, and especially if it's on location.
Yeah.
You're away from your home. You're doing stuff, and then if it's a 5-day week or a 6-day week, whatever that last day of the week is, usually the crew goes to some local bar. And then we take over the bar like a motorcycle gang, and just blow off steam, and people hook up and they get drunk, and it
all happens,
and it all goes down.
Yeah,
and we're all part of a little
we're all
part of a military unit. All right, so what happens in the bar stays in the bar. We all know each other, whatever. We all make fun of each other. There'll be moments where we'll all pick on somebody else, just like these guys do, and all coming from the same place. We've all worked really, really hard. They're coming from a different place. Obviously, there's life and death involved, but there's going to be life and death involved in our work too. But the thing about it is we're all working very, very hard towards one purpose, and we don't give ourselves a break when it comes to rolling film. So when we finally get to that done day.
And movie, like you said, we are like a military operation when we make a movie, and especially if you're fighting an away battle. Mm-hmm. It's like you're in the trenches with people. And you're in combat. And so you're making these intense decisions in the heat of action. And then you don't see each other again for maybe a year.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you see that person on the street or at a party or at somebody's house or something. And immediately there is that separation of time goes away because you were in combat together.
You absolutely. You saw them every day. You saw them every day.
Yeah,
all right?
You had these intense
3 months.
Intense
all right?
experiences
As
together.
you guys are doing some syphilis act of moving.
Yeah.
Sisyphus act.
Hopefully not a syphilis act, but because I'm sure that happens.
Moving
as well.
a rock up a hill. They both apply. Now, the thing about it is, having watched the film again recently, I think the movie's pretty terrible. I don't really like it at all. As I said earlier on, there's no director that I respect more than Robert Aldrich. I kind of respect everything about him. I respect him as a director. I respect some of the movies he made. I respect every movie he made, even if I don't like them. I respect them because he's a man who comes from a place of respect. He was a true artist, and he was actually committed to 2 things that I think are very fascinating. One, he has easily the least egotistical possessory credit of all time. His movies never say a film by Robert Aldrich. It was the name of his company. The Associates and Aldrich present. That was his credit. Sometimes the Aldrich Associates, but usually the Associates and Aldrich present.
I wonder how the DGA felt about that.
Well, he could do anything he wanted at DGA.
Yeah,
he was the president of the DGA for
that's how you do it then, I guess.
But one of the things about it though is they asked him, okay, well, but that possessory credit. Well, who are the associates? What is that? What does that mean? Who are the associates? Well, the associates are a bunch of people that I enjoy making motion pictures with. They are his associates.
I am associated with them.
And it's true. It's like, he has like 2 directors of photography. And if he's not working with this guy, he's working with this one. All right. And he has these couple
one
of
composer.
He has about like 3 different writers. And if he's not working with one of these 3, then it's a script that doesn't need them. All right. He has 2 cinematographers. He has 2 different editors. Robert Aldrich comes from the fine breed of director that is almost extinct nowadays. Yeah. That he came to directing from being a first assistant.
Oh yeah,
and he was the greatest first assistant director in the business. And then he came to directing on his own from being a first assistant. Now,
so he's organized.
Yeah. So I mean, Walter Hill came from a career as an AD. John Flynn came from a career as an AD. Joseph von Sternberg came from a career as an AD. But none of them like like the way Robert Aldrich did. But he is the golden boy for it. And that's how he became president of the Directors Guild, because he knows what a crew is. He knows what a crew does. He's coming from, as much of an artist as he is, he's coming from a crew perspective. So he's a guy who can understand this story.
That's super interesting, because I notice a lot of his films are groups, like almost mobs of men, which is like you're directing the background and the foreground. Longest Yard, groups of people. It's not like he's comfortable directing, a small chamber piece.
No. I mean, like Lee Marvin in The Dirty Dozen. He's Robert Aldrich. He's a director. Like, before he can even lead them on the mission, he has to direct an entire radio play where they become allies with each other, and they're not allies at all.
Yeah.
And when it's working out, I love that John Cassavetes character. Like, I love that guy. He's like, did you hear them out there? We won't do this. We won't do that. We won't do this. We won't do that. He goes, there are a bunch of individuals, but now he's got them talking as a unit.
And before this, he does Twilight's Last Gleaming, which is also like a bunch of guys improving, basically, going wild and crazy. I mean, controlled chaos.
No, that's almost the...
There's something about an AD doing movies about controlled chaos, which is interesting.
Aldrich was never nominated for a Best Director award from the Academy. He was nominated once for Whatever Happened to Baby Jane from the DGA, but not from the Academy. However, many Aldrich associates have been nominated for their respective branches by the Academy. So he takes care of his associates. Yeah. He puts them first in every way, shape, and form, even when it comes to showing off their skill. He always puts them first. All right. I also dig the fact that he is a man of chaos, and he is a man who
embraces it.
He's the epitome of the macho masculine director, or the guy's in charge. Like when Burt Reynolds talked about him when he was making Longest Yard, he was saying that there's no other director that's more perfect to do The Longest Yard than Robert Aldrich. When he looks like a football coach, or he looks like a warden. He looks like either one of them. He looks like both of them. He looks like he could be a football coach and a warden. And like, that's who you want to deal with these football cats out there. That's who you want to deal with these rough ass actors playing killers. You want a guy like that just like demands respect, the respect of a leader. The one thing that Aldrich has is just complete confidence in his ability to command the set, command the crew, command what he's going to do. That he doesn't have to take care of himself. He doesn't have to, I don't want to deal with that. That could be too much of a problem. Where that is like most of the hired hands out there in Hollywood, he dives into those propellers. No. Betty Davis and Joan Crawford together, love it.
Yeah, I'm in.
That's going to be interesting cinema. Yeah. Every day is going to be exciting on that. Let me have part of that. Oh, hey, we just did it. We survived. Let's do another one right away. And they sign immediately to do Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte.
Yeah.
And he wants to do it with Joan Crawford.
Yeah.
Not just Betty Davis. He wants to do it with both of them together.
And he wants Joan Crawford as Joan Crawford in full form.
And he defended Joan Crawford against everybody to this day when they say that she came up with some bullshit reason why she didn't want to do the movie. So they started shooting with her and she dropped out. Yeah. And he goes, no. That's not the way it works. You guys this is just gossip. She was making the movie. She got sick. We got paid an insurance claim. All right. If we got paid an insurance claim and she was lying, that would be fraud. She would be in jail. We would all be in jail. Okay. She was sick. Boom. End of story. But the other thing about Robert Aldrich that's terrific is he also exists in that other small little group of directors in America, of which there's very few, who, once they had a smash hit, took the money from that smash hit and didn't just set up a deal to make a cool shingle for themselves. They bought a studio and started making movies.
What studio did he buy?
Aldrich Studios.
Wow, it's amazing to find a studio for sale with your name already attached.
No, he put it in. Aldrich Studios was a soundstage. I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember if it was a Desilu soundstage but he bought a soundstage and dubbed it Aldrich Studios.
My favorite film of Aldrich is, not to, like, we're really talking about a lot of Aldrich, but is Flight of the Phoenix. To me, when I was a boy, Flight of the Phoenix was like the boys' adventure movie that, like, I don't know if you're a big fan of the movie. I just love the film.
I don't love the movie he made, and there's a reason why I don't love the movie he made of it. But the story is so fucking great.
Yeah, and Hardy Kruger is so good in it.
He's wonderful in it, and like we don't want to reveal the big surprise that happens in the third act. But that's as good a surprise as I've ever of any movie I've ever seen when it comes to. You hear a piece of information that changes everything you've just watched.
Yeah.
That piece of information, all right, is just a blow away.
And that movie does feel like somebody who's culminated a life of experience making movies under pressure situations.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because everything in that movie could be a parable for making movies.
Now, look, a problem to me with Aldrich as he moved into the late 60s and especially into the 70s, but it reared its head in the 60s too. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the problems it sinks, the Choirboys, is a corniness started developing in Aldrich's movies that it's unfortunate that it's there because it was never there in the 50s. In the 50s, his movies were so ahead.
Like Kiss Me Deadly.
Yes, exactly. And that's just one of them. All right.
Yeah.
But Kiss Me Deadly, Attack, World for Ransom, which is one of the great, like, shoestring, low budget movies of the 50s. It's fantastic. Aldrich had a run of about 6 movies like nobody else did in the 50s, where he was, for all intensive purposes, he was Scorsese in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then starting in the 60s, he keeps holding on to some hammy dramatics. Not everybody, but there's like hammy comedy and hammy dramatics that just pop their head in the films he did in the mid 60s going on. Like Don Siegel never came from the artistic place that Robert Aldrich did. He was able to transition himself into the 70s and not make 60s movies that just had a 70s veneer. And part of the reason he was able to do that is because of his associates. He had people like Bruce Surtees and Lalo Schifrin dragging him kicking and screaming into a new decade of making cinema. And he had Dean Reisner as a scriptwriter dragging him into a new era of making cinema. And he had Clint Eastwood dragging him into a new era of making cinema. No, we're not going to make movies like it's 1962. We're making movies like it's 1972. And Aldrich didn't have that. For the most part, his cinematographer, Joseph Procoli, kept him, everything looks like it's like a Brady Bunch street scene. Mm-hmm. All right. Everything looks television. Everything looks lit for television.
I mean, especially in the Choirboys.
Yeah. But that's not even especially in the Choirboys. A lot of his 70s movies have that kind of feel. Not every single one of them, but a lot of them do. But it's very set bound. They shot everything on the Universal backlot or whatever backlot they ended up buying. And not only that, he has music by DeVoe, the guy who actually does this.
Brady Bunch.
You remember from the opening of the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
Down.
No, that's not DeVoe. You're doing Sanford and Son.
Well, okay, that sounded more like Sanford and Son, but in my mind, I was doing an interstitial from Brady Bunch.
No, it's like, okay, it's Mike Brady goes to answer the door music. Da 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 da. Oh, hi, Sam. You come to see Alice? Yeah, Mr. Brady, I came to see Alice.
I put too much twang on my...
Yeah, you were like, chaka chaka wah wah. And unfortunately, a lot of these aspects are in the Choirboys. It's really corny. Crazy corny television. It's very TV. It plays like a pilot.
It's also somewhat backwards in the way that things were backwards in some ways in the 1970s. I mean, it has it's trying to walk a difficult line and be this kind of this comedy, but at the same time, in trying to express what these cops are going through and how they have to let off steam, they're exploding in ways that are almost reprehensible.
Oh, but
from a modern perspective.
But that's the book. All right. That's actually.
But in a book, you have greater subtext to understand.
Well, that would be Joseph Wambaugh's argument. But the thing about the book is supposed to be, hey, look, these are these guys, and this is a black comedy, black macabre grist for this entire story.
Probably sourced from real cops.
I'm sure almost everything is in it is based somewhat. There's somewhat of a truth to both each character and to each little incident. Now, a decision was made at some point in the course of the film to just keep it about the hijinks, keep it about the funny stuff, keep it funny. And then that's why there's this jokey aspect to the movie. Now, the thing about it, though, is, the book, while it has all this raunchy humor, there's also a serious aspect running alongside of it as well. Aldrich shot about 4 hours and 20 minutes of footage for the movie. So when they made it a 2-hour movie, they literally lost half the movie. Now, this was talked about when the movie came out. And Aldrich said he downplayed it a bit. Like, oh, I always shoot long. And a lot of Aldrich movies are blown up to elephantine status that didn't quite deserve to be.
Especially when you're trying to capture comedy, you're trying to capture material, basically, right?
Yeah, well, I think but it's more about, this is dealing with a large canvas. He likes a large canvas. He wants to make an epic every fucking time out of the block. And he structures it as an epic. And sometimes he pulls it off and sometimes he doesn't. He's the king of the protracted opening credits. I mean, his opening for something like Frisco Kid, the opening credits go on like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I remember at the end of these opening credits, I turned to you and I was like, I am exhausted already.
Yeah. His opening credits can be that way.
It was like, da, 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 or whatever.
It never stopped.
It's like, oh my God. I'm like,
I know.
I need to chill out a little bit before we continue.
No, let's see every actor in this movie's name in a single card credit. All right. So I believe that he did I don't believe that he was planning a 4-hour movie or even a 3-hour movie and they cut out half his movie. I think since it's made up of so many different incidences, he just filmed them all and he would, well, which characters stand out, which ones don't, right. And then I'll emphasize that and I'll juggle it the right way. I'm sure, knowing Aldrich the way I do, having never met the guy, but I feel like I know him, I'm sure he originally probably intended the movie to be 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours and 45 minutes, where he would have had the latitude to put in like more of the drama stuff and whatever. Anyway, the film did not do well at the market research screenings. And so it was just decided they only want comedy and they don't want it when it gets too dark and when it gets too black comedy. So what you're seeing is the light version of it.
It's funny because some of the comedy in it, for example, James Woods, like almost feels like, like sitcom, like the way his delivery is almost like it's way over the top. And then you've got Charles Durning, who is like about to explode over the whole movie. And so it's this strange collision of these two styles of performance coming together. And it feels odd.
But then you add everybody else to it. Don Stroud.
Don Stroud.
And Perry King. Well, amongst the Choirboys themselves, it's Don Stroud's movie.
Yeah.
All right. That was one of the things that I liked about it so much back then, because I was a big Don Stroud fan. So to actually see
we finally get a Don Stroud lead performance.
Yeah, it's like it's like everybody had a big Louis Gossett Jr. had a big role in the film and it got cut down to nothing. All right, so it's actually kind of cool that Don Stroud's character, well, he's so important to what happens in the film, it needs to be, but that his character remains such a focus and such a big ensemble that got cut down.
I got to tell you, when it starts off, that whole Vietnam sequence, which was shot in like the Batman cave or something.
Yeah. Bronson Canyon.
The Bronson Canyon here in Hollywood. It starts the movie
off terrible, all right?
It's just like, I kind of like, I quickly put my seatbelt on your couch. I better buckle in for this one.
Yeah.
And then, I started realizing that it's about cops.
Here's the thing. They're all kind of given a bum rush, but the casting of the Choirboys is really, really, really well done. And the characters that actually get more of a three-dimensional treatment, well, I don't know if Roscoe Rules gets a three-dimensional treatment, but he gets a lot of screen time. And Tim McIntyre is really terrific as Roscoe Rules. I mean, he's the most reprehensible character, but But he's one of the funnest in the movies because when he's on, shit happens. Yeah, and that's an important character. When you don't have to like him, but when he's on, stuff happens.
Well, actually, like a lot of these movies, Dirty Dozen, Longest Yard, Twilight/Gleaming, Flight of the Phoenix, all of the characters are distinct.
They're all better movies than the one we're talking
about. Well, it's true. It's true. But this shows his strength in that he's got like these groups of people, and yet all of them are distinctly identifiable.
And frankly, as bad as I do actually think the direction is, I think the direction is corny, and I think
it's
way
flat,
and
it's just straightforward.
It just plays like bad television.
They're even doing those television transitions, the kind of squish wipe or whatever that's called.
Yeah, these terrible television those are terrible. They look from like 1967 on television, not even from a 70s television show. But Joseph Wambaugh's book is really good. And so even when it's badly done, there are some interesting cop vermicitude things that you still see in it and you still gleam in it. Now, one of the segments that actually does work, and it's the one segment that works that you realize this is how all the other vignettes are supposed to play at, is the woman who wants to jump off the building.
Yes.
And Roscoe Rules and Randy Quaid go to talk her off. That scene is hysterical. That scene is so funny.
That's when it's
a black comedy scene in every way, shape, and form. It's fucked up what happens, but you laugh out loud. And there's not another scene that makes you laugh out loud the way that one does.
That's about as tonally perfect as to what the movie should be all the way through.
Yeah, almost every vignette needed to be at least half as good.
And that's when Tim McIntyre, is it Tim McIntyre?
Yeah, Tim
plays
McIntyre.
Roscoe. That's when he is so funny in that scene. In fact, he's giving lines that are like repeatable, memeable lines that are like, I'll be using.
Every line
weeks.
he says in the movie, all right, is very quotable.
I don't got all day.
Yeah.
Why don't you just jump?
Just okay, you got your audience. You got everybody's eyeballs looking at you.
Hey, check this out. You want to see something?
Yeah, I'll show you this. Why don't we just wait and let this woman have a little time to think things out while we wait for that? I'm not going to do that. I ain't got time for that. That's a really funny scene.
Well, it's almost like a dark, like Police Academy or something.
But just understand. In 1977, when I saw this, when I was...
Yeah, there was no such...
I was like 15 or 16. I was hysterical. I thought the whole movie was a laugh riot. And I wasn't alone. The audience was laughing their asses off. So they make it a comedy. They cut it down to just comedy length for a comedy. And then Joseph Wambaugh sees the film, sues Universal for $1 million.
And
to get his name taken off the screenplay credit.
Wow.
Okay, so now here is a situation where his problems with the script. One, he didn't like the idea that MacArthur Park was filmed on a set and not actually at the real MacArthur Park, which is a strange. Oh, you're going to have three problems.
Yeah.
That was actually a fairly good set. It was actually one of the better sets in the movie. I wouldn't have known that didn't take place in MacArthur Park if I didn't know any better. His second issue was the revealing of the S&M situation of Perry King's Officer Baxter. Mm-hmm. He thought it was sleazy, but it's in the book. It's in the book. Same story's in the book. All right. And 3 was the triumphant ending.
Okay, I can't imagine having any kind of basis for suing on any of these issues that he has. And I've heard that he won. Did he win?
He got his name taken off. He didn't get $1 million. He got his name taken off, and he effectively kicked the movie in the balls because this was all happened during the time of the movie's release. So every critic, wrote a review, say, okay, well, Joseph Wambaugh hates this movie, and I hate it too.
Wow.
So he effectively torpedoed its commercial chances. If you've read the book and seen the movie, without hearing his point, you just naturally assume he has one. Until you hear the 3 issues he's talking about.
Wait a minute. That's like a baseless lawsuit.
This is crazy. All right. But he did like talk show appearances. And it's like, don't go see this movie.
Wow.
He
went active.
Yeah, he went active. Now, I think he's full of doo-doo. because if he just didn't like the movie that came out of it, that would make sense. If he just thought it was just too juvenile, that would make sense. But he's taking a puritanical line of attack, which doesn't make sense when you write that book. And so what I think the deal is I think Joseph Wambaugh wrote a poisoned pen letter to his former colleagues when he wrote the book. And now that he's seen it dramatized less than sensitively and played for broad laughs, he has cold feet about the entire enterprise.
He has to disown it.
And he's distancing himself.
Yeah.
Where, a book is one thing, but now it's reaching a much larger audience. And I think he's got cold feet by the way he betrayed his former colleagues.
Well, after this, he went and he bought back the rights to his other books. He got the Onion Field and then was more closely guarded. And yet James Woods is in the Onion Field. Yeah. So maybe there's some fruit that came from making this film.
Yeah. Well, he came and auditioned for the Onion Field and goes, look, sorry I was in the Choirboys. I'm not going to hold that against you.
Yeah.
All right. You're an actor. You're doing a job. Even the
and I don't think you have to sue to take your name off.
Even the happy ending, the triumphant ending that the movie gives. Okay, look, that's arguable. All right, you can make a case that's shoehorned in there and it doesn't belong, especially compared to the book. All right, well, I will say two things when it comes to that. I will give you Aldrich's response to that, and I will give you the audience's response to that when I saw it at the theaters. The audience loved it. They applied right at the applause moment. They totally did a big applause.
The audience doesn't know what's on the cutting room floor.
They queued us up. The audience applauded, and they applauded during the wacky freeze frame. All right,
the curtain call.
Yeah, of Charles Durning jumping up in the air.
Oh yeah, that
slapping Lou Gossett 5. No, give me 5, man, give me 5.
that was a weird. And he's like, he jumps up in the air.
Oh, he's in midair. Yeah. All right, Okay, so that worked as far as the audience was concerned. And Aldrich, well, that's just absolutely preposterous. Guy doesn't understand how movies are made at all. Okay, look at a movie that people like. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. If that movie ended with Jack Nicholson's lobotomy, no one would go see that goddamn picture.
Well, he's right.
No one would throw it out. No, you need the big Indian to
throw a chair through a window.
Throw the thing through the window, and he runs off to freedom. And now we all left the theater. Hell, I'll see that movie again.
I mean, ultimately, this is a labor comedy. You can't leave with the man winning. In the end, even if it's a Pyrrhic victory, you have to walk away.
Yeah, and he's like, that's well enough for him to end his book that way, but that's just not how movies are, and that's not how audiences react. And I think the point is still made. Where the book more or less ends is what seems like the ending of the movie, frankly, is Robert Webber squeezing the balls of Charles Durning's character, Sperm Whale Whalen. All right.
Literally?
Yeah. No. Remember, he says, why are you doing this to me? Because I got you by the balls.
Because I got you by the balls.
Not literally. I'm using a line, your favorite line from the movie.
Well, I was watching your hands as you were I'm squeezing.
That's the way he does it in the movie. Do you not remember?
No, I remember it well. I've been dying to talk about Robert Webber and how great Robert Webber is in that final scene.
Okay, well, now's the time. All right, because the thing about it is, look, the movie goes on, and like I said, characters are good in it. But then an actor I've never liked. I never like it when he shows up in the movies because he's always...
He's a parody of himself, usually.
Yes, exactly. He's a parody of himself. He always plays the humorless prig, and he's playing the humorless prig, but he's the most humorous character in the movie.
For Aldrich, usually.
For Aldrich, exactly. For Aldrich.
He's usually the same...
He's usually playing
He's one of Aldrich's pals.
He's one of the associates. Robert Webber is absolutely an Aldrich associate, and he shows up in this playing the fucking dick, police captain. And from the moment he shows up with a press conference, he is giving a performance, this high comic performance that nobody else is touching.
He understands the movie completely because he's buddies with Aldrich.
He's what this fucking movie needed, especially if it's going the comedy route, and it needed a few more like this. Only Roscoe Rules is playing at this level.
Yeah.
But I think after appearing in 1,000 movies, Robert Webber knows he has the good role.
Yeah.
He finally has the good role in one of these movies. And he is so fucking funny.
We were in tears watching his
and what's supposed to be the dramatic high point of the film, when Robert Webber is like
the all is lost moment.
Yeah, is busting the balls of this like 20-year veteran,
Charles
Durning, who's like the conscience of the movie. But it's like, if you don't rat out all these bastards, I want the names of every last one of them. You can just kiss that pension of yours goodbye. Well, why are you messing with me? Because I got you by the balls and I'm squeezing. And the effectiveness of the scene is somewhat tempered because we're kind of on Robert Webber's side.
Completely.
Because he's so hysterical in this character. He is so funny that at a certain point, my allegiance moved from poor, pathetic Judas, Charles Durning, to the guy squeezing his balls.
Yeah. I want to see that guy's movie.
And he makes the comedy sequence at the end work, not Lou Gossett and Charles Durning, because it's, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Is so funny because we're just on his side.
Well, that's just it. That's what you go to the movie for, is to see them do that to the man.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's playing the man.
Yeah, it's like he's like a Dean Wormer character, but like he's funnier than Dean Wormer.
Way funnier.
He is hysterical. If Dean Wormer were the comic high point of Animal House.
Yeah. He's great. I have a Franklin Brenner review.
Excellent. Let's hear it.
Of the Choirboys. The LAPD is out of control in 1977's Choirboys. These cops, all one-time choirboys who had the benefits of the church traumatized out of them in Vietnam, think they have it rough, busting hookers and hustlers, so they spend their nights doing what choirboys do to blow off steam: gay bash, lynch, and self-flagellate in BDSM dens. Well, these bozos should try being a film reviewer, because it's one tough gig as well, especially when the film I'm watching feels like it was re-edited to a different movie altogether by the vice president of marketing at the studio. But maybe that's why I let myself care about these powder kegs who we've foolishly granted with lethal force. It's not their fault that they eventually explode. Hell, getting talked down by dickheads like their Deputy Chief Riggs, played with soaring brilliance by Aldrich regular Robert Webber, would make any man eventually explode and walk off the job, as I did back in 1986 with the Winnipeg City Press. It's an old one.
Okay. Now we have a very special moment in Video Archives podcast history. Is we've just heard the Franklin Browner review, and now we're going to hear the William Margold review of the Choirboys.
His stateside superior,
written
one might say.
in January 6th of 1978. The Choirboys is director Robert Aldrich's latest lusty version of the Dirty Dozen. Transplanting the way men who live under pressure blow off their frustrations on each other as well as the world, from the battlefield to the streets. In between Dozen and Choirboys, the same plot ploy worked gloriously well in the prison setting, the longest yard. Aldrich has created a raunchy, painfully and predictably ugly, grotesquely humorous, supremely memorable production that ranks as one of the best films of 1977. It's a genuine pity that the Choirboys has been cut down to a supposedly more commercial 119 minutes, while pieces of pretentious tedium, like John Cassavetes' opening night, seem to run nowhere and forever at 144 minutes, because many of the characters in Aldrich's films are not given as much footage as they deserve. This saddens me, as even the most unattractive of them, Roscoe Rules, is somewhat of an adorable asshole, and I wouldn't mind spending another couple of hours with him and his buddies. At full length, I suspect one might be witness to a crude but totally compelling epic. Having not read the popular novel by Joseph Wambaugh, whose hand-wringing over Aldrich and screenwriter's supposedly mishandling of his creation, all I can say is that I was richly entertained by the marvelously manic members of the Choirboys. There isn't a film on screen today with the consistently high-caliber set of performances that runs throughout the Choirboys. From Charles Durning as Spermware Whalen, a fat, foul, but hardly foolish old-timer, to James Woods as Harold Bloomgard, literally a square peg in a round hole. To Robert Webber as Deputy Chief Riggs, who reeks of pomposity. To Burt Young as Sergeant Dominic Scoozes, an oafish vice cop who realizes that vice is the spice of life. To Tim McIntyre, snarlingly super, as Roscoe Rules, a sour ball whose liquid center has turned to stone. The acting is so achingly good that one wishes that they all could be given awards, much like the prizes given to the Seven Dwarfs. The look of the film, photographed by Joseph Riccoli, is seemingly proper. The editing and the episodic handling are natural ways to handle the adventures of many characters over the space of many days, and the film has a logbook entry quality to it. To me, the Choirboys are simply a bunch of dirtier Harrys, unafraid to live because tomorrow they might have to die in the line of duty. I wouldn't want to be a policeman, but it's nice to know that beneath the badge, they're as human or as screwed up as presidents, or even film reviewers.
Wow.
A+.
That is freaking crazy that he gave it an A+. I mean, I've never heard him give such a glowing, raving review.
You've never heard an A+ given from
never,
Margot.
Never. This is his kind of film.
Yeah, it's the kind of film. He really likes it, and he's actually saying the things, he's mentioning some of the things that we don't like about it at all. We don't like the episodic structure. We don't like the look of it. It looks like bad television. Yeah. But he dug it all. He thought it was funny.
Have you ever wondered what the lead singer of Smash Mouth, Zach Goody, feels about new versus old guys in music and cinema? Or how photographer Toasty Cakes makes his cinematic discoveries? What about the opinion of Rotten Tomatoes editor Jacqueline Coley and what she considers to be the new Hollywood shift of the streaming era? Join me, reporter on the beat Gala Avery, as I get to the bottom of these very questions. Starting on October 26th, I have a new guest on the mic every week. Yes, every Thursday, hear your favorite filmmakers, photographers, actors, models, and more talk about a topic that is near and dear to their heart that they want you to know about. You'd be surprised at what people are interested in. The Gala show premieres October 26th with new episodes every Thursday, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, and we're back, and we're joined by Gala wearing her Avery hoodie.
Yes, it's my Avery Argonaut? Astronaut? What did you call it earlier?
Well, I said cosmonaut.
Oh, cosmonaut. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Cosmonaut.
But it was kind of like it's sort of
it looks like my NASA shirt.
It's sort of a NASA. She has a NASA shirt, and I was like, oh, well, you should have like an Avery shirt.
So now I have an Avery crop top.
A visual inside joke on radio. That's so fantastic. Well, you have to be a member of the Avery family to get the humor, and it's visual.
But you don't have to be a member of the Avery family to get the shirt. You can go to avery.com and link to our merch
get your
site.
Cosmonaut shirt.
Cosmonaut.
Cosmonaut.
Okay, I'm going to get this out of the way. The Choirboys, I think it's like technically made well, but I just don't like this movie. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think it hit well. I don't think I'm the right person to be watching it alone in my house. Like, I think if I'm watching it with a group of guys,
it's funnier in a theater full of people in the 1970s. Is what you're saying.
Well, that's the same way I feel about like National Lampoon's Vacation, like all the vacation movies. Like when I watch those by myself, I don't find them funny, and then when I watch them with about like 10 to 15 teenage guys, I think they're hilarious.
Are you watching these vacation movies with 10 to 15 teenage guys? What the hell?
That sounds like really out of context.
And who exactly are 13 of these 12 to 15 teenage guys?
Well, no, that sounds really out of context.
So they're younger than you.
No. I saw the movie. I saw the National Lampoon movie.
Gala's teenage harem.
No, don't say that. That's terrible.
Sorry.
No, I saw the movie when I was at the Pepperdine Film Camp.
Okay, yeah.
When I was
right.
17.
You were actually...
I was 17 and
she has a legit...
I think there's Gala's interns.
Well, there is that.
So I think the movie's good. I don't think it hits well. I don't think it's funny. I don't think the funny parts are like what makes it good. but the lady jumping off the roof is the funny part. Like, let's just get that clear.
And by the way, and I take her seriously as a character. I like that woman.
Oh, and I like her sweater. Just so everyone knows, I like her sweater.
I like that actress. I like that woman in playing the character. All right, I relate.
Her performance is really good. Her little look that she gives,
yeah, I related to her. I didn't relate to her as an extra. I didn't relate to her as a prop. I related to her as a human being who was alive for a while.
But the thing I don't find it funny that they're goading her on. I find it how she jumps is funny.
Well, no, the shot of her leaping off the building,
and then
it's funny for how realistic it looks.
But then all of a sudden she's doing those flips.
Yeah.
And it's just flipping. That part was a real stunt woman jumped off a building. Yeah, and that's why it's good, because it's a real stunt woman doing it.
Yeah.
I think also maybe one of the problems is that my introduction to the movie and to all the guys is one of these choir boy parties. Yeah. Where it's that girl is she's really upset and she's over the top.
No
upset.
balls Hanley.
Yeah, she's over the top upset. But then she
with reason.
With a little bit of reason, but it's she's over the top, and that's the comedy of it. But then she goes into the room, and then he's creepily.
Oh, hold on, that's the only other part that works. That's the only other part.
You just picked the other funny scene.
You literally picked the only other good shot in the whole fucking movie.
In fact, I'm glad you're bringing it up because I had forgotten
we needed to talk about it. I said too much shit about Robert Aldrich. I cannot not give him that scene.
Let's set the scene for the people at home in case they haven't seen it.
Go for it.
Okay, so she's been in the pool. She gets pantsed. She's really pissed off about it. She goes into the room. She's going to get changed. She wants to go home. Her friend's okay, whatever. You're kind of being a party pooper. Let me go, tell the guys we're going to leave. We're all cops. Calm down.
Yeah.
That was you sounded like the girl. Hey, we're all cops. Calm down. You know what the fucking sperm whale did?
And then
so what?
It's sperm
he's my sperm whale. He's yanked my pants off before, too. Wow, I'm fucking sick of this shit.
So she gets undressed and she's putting on her robe and she sits down on this glass table. And as she sits down on the glass table with no underwear
Bluto
on,
or the flounder character from Animal House as a cop comes in.
But he's crawling under the floor panting.
Okay.
Here, now Quentin can take over.
This is where Quentin takes over.
Okay, because the whole thing is this one guy. It's a guy named Chuck Saki. If you remember, Thank God It's Friday. He's the garbage man that gets sent on the wrong computer date. He's this big, chubby-looking guy, but he also has a face like a 5-year-old boy at the same time.
Yeah,
it's part of the fact that he's doing it, as opposed to say Sperm Whale or anybody else, actually makes it work to some degree. And
Randy Quaid might have been able to get away with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he's better.
No, it's
his 5-year-old face makes it work.
It's the 5-year-old face and the fat body that really kind of makes it work. But the thing is, he's got a crush on No Balls Hanley, which is played in the movie by Barbara Rhodes, who was I always liked her a lot on television in the early 70s. Late 60s, early 70s. So this is one of her last times I think she shows up in something. So he's got a crush on her. And so his partner's well, yeah, go get a look at her. She's whatever. So she's naked except for a robe, and she's sitting on a glass table, and she's drying her hair. So because she's drying her hair with a towel, she can't hear. And so Chuck Saki he crawls up on all fours into the room. Then he sees her on the table, sees what's going on. He lies on his back.
Inches under.
And shimmies. And it's the shimmy that's hysterical. Shimmies under the table.
This little glass coffee table thing.
Yeah. And the thing that's also just really, really funny about it is he's really, really big. He's got a big, big body. And the table isn't very big. But it's just big enough if he wiggles the right kind of way that he can fit squirm underneath the table. Okay, now, you don't have to like that scene. However, the thing about it is that is one of the parts that I remember absolutely in the movie theater. And the eye level shot. The eye level shot when he gets on his back and starts shimmering in, and he still has a long way to go. She's gonna
across the room.
Yeah, it's she's gonna turn around and see it. She's gonna hear it. All right, but to watch it all play out in this big master, the audience was dying.
Yeah, it's a very funny scene.
I mean, it's the reason I'm sure Universal released the fucking film in the first place.
It's an Animal House scene.
It's an Animal House scene before Animal House. Animal House will come out later that year. But but it would be one of the key scenes in Animal House if it was in Animal House. If Flounder did that in Animal House, it would be one of the key scenes.
But also for a movie that is shot very much like television, master, single, and it seems very simple. Suddenly in this scene, Aldrich starts doing cinema. That close up of his like mouth, like a fish suckering onto the glass of an aquarium underneath her. It's a crazy shot. It's a crazy ass shot.
Okay, the scene for me, I find it goes on too long. It's uncomfortable. But
it's definitely uncomfortable.
But the part
well,
of
if it was filled with laughter in the room, it might not be so long.
The part of it that's good though is when she finally realizes and she's trying to break the table that he's under.
Okay,
that's the good part in my opinion.
Okay. If she actually took that lamp and it actually crashed through the table, I mean, it would fuck him up for life. I mean, the damage it would have done to his face is shocking.
Yeah.
And now I know what's going to happen. Okay, but I saw the movie twice at the theaters, and the entire theater jumped out of their seat when the lamp hits the table.
Yeah, I thought
Roger
it was going to break
jumped off the couch.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my god!
I thought she was going to kill him.
And then she gets out the golf club and she's like trying to smash the table and it won't smash.
Yeah. It's like
I think
Perspex
that's where the
or
comedy
something.
works for me in that scene. And I actually like some of the serious moments in this movie, and like I wish there were a little bit more of them to tie it all together. Like I found it touching when he does let go the gay kid that's been arrested.
Yeah, me too.
That's a touching moment, and it does wrap back around in a fulfilling way, and a fulfilling and shocking way.
Yeah.
I was shocked when that. I don't know if I can say it right now.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say it.
But I was shocked when that happened.
But it's the big dramatic linchpin that the whole film is building towards. Yeah. And did you think that worked?
Well, the what doesn't work about it is that, at least unless I missed it, we never get to see Scoozy's, Burt Young's reaction.
Okay, well, forget about that for a second. What do you think? Do you think the sequence itself works?
I mean,
I hear what you're saying, but forget about that.
I find it staged a little clumsily, to be honest.
Yeah,
and it feels a little clumsy and forced as it happens, and it's all meant to tie into his Vietnam flashback.
Yeah, we're talking about the Don Stroud character.
Which we possibly have forgotten about since the first moments of the movie, and that wasn't really the strongest moment. Like, I think a more effective opening Vietnam scene where we really feel viscerally the kind of trauma that he's under, and then maybe if we had kind of been reminded a little bit leading up to that, peppered a little bit with the understanding that he has a hair trigger and that he can easily lose it. Like, I mean, growing up in the 1970s, one of my mother's boyfriends was this guy who had been to Vietnam, and he would every now and then snap. Something might happen, and he would snap, and he would think, even though you're like in, Hermosa Beach in a house having dinner, he would think, I'm in Vietnam. And he would say things like, the Chinese are coming over the hill. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like a little kid. It's like, and so if we had, if that had been reinforced a little bit leading up to that moment, then when that moment would have happened, I think I might have felt it a little bit more. As it happened, I was reminding myself of it in that moment. Oh, that's what's happening right now. And then it was just frankly staged a little clumsily.
I think I agree with everything you said. I think it worked a little bit more for me because I think I still like the literary idea of having all points meet.
Yeah.
I do also think that Don Stroud goes a long way to selling it.
Oh,
because I like Don Stroud's character, and I like the fact that his character was all leading to like the climactic point of the movie.
If it works at all,
it's because of Don Stroud.
Because of Don Stroud. Absolutely. Can we also just say for a moment like how good Burt Young is in this? And I usually actively don't like Burt Young. It's not that I shouldn't say that.
I don't like his laugh in there, which they think is hysterical.
Oh, that little yeah, that little laugh he does.
But I liked his character a lot.
I liked his character. I liked that there was this kind of, that they showed this kind of cop.
Yeah.
And that he was, of all of them, kind of the one who had the most clear ethical compass.
Well, I will say that the last thing in support of the film that I have is the double team of Don Stroud and Perry King together. Because one, they do look like cops.
Yeah.
They look like hot, sexy
Especially like Don Stroud.
Swinging dick cops, all right? But even Perry King has got that, when a cop is handsome, he's handsome like Perry King.
He looks like an L.A. cop.
Yeah. He definitely looks like an L.A. cop. And, I don't think Perry King is that, doesn't really set my world on fire. But actually, the two of the times that I actually really liked him in movies, I like him well enough in Lords of Flatbush, and I like him well enough in Mandingo. But the two times he's really good is in the TV movie Foster and Laurie with him and Dorian Haywood, where he plays a cop. Mm-hmm. And then this with Don Stroud. Because in both cases, he actually has a chemistry with the other actor. Yeah. And they look right. I could have almost watched a whole movie of Don Stroud and Perry King, doing busting kind of shit.
Yeah, totally.
Easily, I could have watched that movie.
Yeah.
Before I wrap it up, I just have to say, I hate the end credit sequence. Like, I actually hate it.
Of them all laughing?
Of them all laughing, but it's like Jason from The One-Armed Executioner laughing. Like, I wish it was his laugh instead.
Yeah.
But I hate that. I actually kind of like the opening credit sequence a little bit. It's kind of weird, though, that it's like the Germanic font, even though it's like a Vietnam War movie. But I know it's more like a church font, but just... Not my kind of movie. Okay, so I actually rented this on iTunes, and the transfer is like really soft and really beautiful. So I have to say that.
Oh, wow.
It was. But I picked up a MCA home video, just like Quentin's from Eddie Brandt's. I didn't pick up mine from Eddie Brandt's. I picked up an MCA home video for $10 flat.
Excellent.
This is the sound of a walking time bomb, fashioned from explosives, fuse, detonator, flesh, and blood. He is determined to commit the most awesome assassination of our time. Rod Steiger is Hennessy, the most dangerous man alive. Lee Remick is the woman who loves him. Hennessy, a fictional story so frighteningly authentic it was banned throughout the United Kingdom. Hennessy from American International, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
Rod Steiger stars in Hennessy, which, along with co-hit The Choirboys, will be playing on breathtaking 35mm film for 2 nights on Tuesday, March 7th and Wednesday, March 8th. 7165 Beverly Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90036. For more information, visit thenewbev.com. The New Beverly Cinema. Always on film.
And we're back. And we're here to talk about the second film on our show, which is the 1975 British thriller Hennessy, starring our boy Rod Steiger.
Right after Dirty Hands.
Yeah. Lee Remick, and one of my favorite British actors, Richard Johnson, who, interestingly enough, wrote the story that the film is based on, and a special guest star appearance by Trevor Howard. Let me get right into it and just read the box. This is a Thorn EMI video. However, by this point, Thorn EMI weren't calling themselves Thorn EMI. They were calling themselves HBO Canon Video. This is not a Video Archives tape. This is from my own collection. I think I just bought it somewhere along the line. But if you were going to find this at Video Archives, you would probably find it under the British section under H.
That's exactly where we would have put it.
No one would ever find it there, all right? All the British films just were sucked into a hole, never to rent, all right?
But when people wanted a British film and they would go there, you'd find movies that were like cool movies that were British films. And this is a very distinctly British film.
Oh, it absolutely is. But it was like, it
captures the flavor of
But
Ireland.
Every once in a while, you would take some of these films that were buried in the British section, at least from the 70s, and put them in drama. And then all of a sudden they'd rent for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to read the back of the box. Rod Steiger, Lee Remick, and Trevor Howard star in this taunt cat and mouse espionage thriller centered on a plot to bring England to its knees. Hennessy, Steiger, is an Irish demolitions expert whose wife and daughter are accidentally killed by British troops. Mad with guilt, he sets out to destroy the royal family and the entire English government by blowing up Parliament. Soon, Hennessy is being hunted by both Scotland Yard and the IRA, who fear he will irreparably hurt their cause. While the clocks tick down, he comes increasingly closer to realizing his devastating goal. Climaxed by brilliant intercutting of actual newsreel footage, Hennessy is a chilling tale of vengeance that will keep you on the edge of your seat from its first jolting scene to its last explosive moment. Color, running time, 103 minutes. that more or less tells the story, but not so well, frankly, to tell you the truth. The whole idea of the film is Rod Steiger plays a demolition expert living in Belfast named Hennessy. And, his job is to blow up factories that are ready to be demolished and, just a regular demolitions guy. Now, early on, you see the IRA come to him and try to get him, his brother, who's like the main bigwig in the IRA, try to get him to use his services to help their cause.
But he is completely nonpartisan.
He's completely, no, that's not my thing. I don't believe in violence. I'm not your guy. Just forget it. Forget it. A riot in Belfast breaks out a bunch of young people and some of the British soldiers. And in the melee, an accident happens where a British soldier gets hit by a rock or a brick or something. And as he falls to the ground, his machine gun goes off and he ends up wiping out.
It's a fog of war moment.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, he ends up shooting a whole shitload of the protesters.
Almost without knowing it, he's been hit in the face with a brick. And so as he falls, he's just squeezing the gun trigger with blood in his eyes and just firing randomly, maybe not even knowing he's firing.
Yeah, no, it's completely set up, a la Rage as an accident that just happened.
In fact, the similarities to Rage, almost.
No,
don't
this almost feels like Rage Part 2. All right, just with Rod Steiger and instead of George C. Scott, but like those guys are almost interchangeable to some degree.
They're both emotionally on the same arc.
Yeah, trying to get home from school, or I think they're going shopping or something, is Hennessy's wife and child, played by a 4-year-old Patsy Kensit.
Yeah, it was incredible to see her.
Yeah. And they're shot dead. And Hennessy gets there and sees his dead wife and beautiful little girl just lying there dead in the Belfast street.
Along with about 6 other people who have been shot and killed. It's been an accidental massacre.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly.
That has become a giant political, because of the life for a life policy of the ERA at the time.
Yeah, it's an accidental Sunday Bloody Sunday.
Yeah.
So when this happens, Hennessy just completely drops out of sight. No one knows where he is. What he's doing is he just disappears, goes to London, and he's got one plan. He's going to get a bunch of explosives, maneuver himself into the House of Parliament on the opening day of Parliament, where like the Queen and the entire royal family is there. And he will be in the room and he will blow up the Queen, the entire royal family, and pretty much all of the politicians who are sitting around him.
And I have to say, he has a brilliant plan. It plays out like a how-to.
That's exactly what it plays out like. I mean, it's really kind of wild because it is, again, similar to Rage when it comes to like a how-to. If I'm going to break down this plan, how do I do it? But this is even more detailed.
Yeah.
Now, when I just described that whole scenario, that might sound far-fetched. In Hennessy, it doesn't come across as that far-fetched.
What I thought was going to be kind of crazy, his plan ends up being somewhat brilliant.
It is kind of a brilliant plan. It is,
and it allows for these twists and turns and reversals that were frankly had blown my mind. That Die Hard reversal.
Yeah, and by the way, they don't tell you his plan. I mean, he's going to try to blow up the Queen, but you don't know how he intends to accomplish this. And so the whole thing of the movie is watching step by step. So that's what he's doing. Okay, now how in the hell is he going to get in there?
Everything that seems impossible.
Suddenly, wait a minute. Okay, why the hell is he concentrating on this guy? Oh, I get it now. Yeah. I mean, that just seems to keep happening until he maneuvers himself. So he's like right by the Queen.
He's in Parliament. And everyone in government is there. He's not just blowing up the Queen. Yeah. He's blowing up the entire government.
Yeah.
He's taking out England.
Yeah, he's taking out England. Okay, now he's got 2 factors that are after him. One is a cop played by Richard Johnson.
Inspector Hollis.
Inspector Hollis, who I said also came up with the story. And by the way, the screenplay, the very good screenplay, was written by John Gay, who would later go on to write Gandhi.
Yeah.
He also wrote that movie Enigma that I always liked with Martin Sheen and Sam Neill, I believe. But the thing is, so Richard Johnson is a Scotland Yard inspector whose specialty is busting the IRA. And he has a hatred for the IRA because they killed a bunch of his men and they know him and he knows them. And so he's got his own thing.
He's like a British Dirty Harry or violent bad lieutenant.
Yeah. He has kind of he's not quite a bad lieutenant, but he's not that great of a lieutenant.
He's not far away from becoming a bad lieutenant.
He will be a bad lieutenant in time.
Down the road.
Maybe after this movie. Or after the events of this movie, he will be a bad lieutenant. But his job is to bring down the IRA. He has a personal vendetta against them, and they hate him and he hates them. And so he puts two and two together and realizes this nutter Hennessy is out there, and he's got to track him down and stop him. And so he's always like 2 steps behind Hennessy. Wherever Hennessy is, he gets there too late. But he's getting closer, and he's getting closer. Meanwhile, the IRA have put 2 and 2 together and realized what Hennessy's doing.
Like, holy shit, he's going to bring down heat onto us.
Yeah, he's like,
he's going to mess up our whole thing.
Yeah, it's like 1974. So they're sort of like, there actually is sympathy for the IRA in a lot of circles. But they go up and blow up the entire royal family and all the politicians in Britain, then like the entire world will come down on the IRA. And we can't let that happen. So now they've sent a hit team led by Hennessy's brother to not just stop Hennessy, but kill him before he can do this. None of this matters to Hennessy.
At all.
At all. He's just going about his plan, and he's staying one step ahead of them. And whenever they almost catch him, he gets out of it in exciting ways. We had a lot of fun watching this movie. Again, we're big Rod Steiger fans here. Any movie Rod Steiger is the lead on, is
Dirty Hands, the movie he did right after this, is
absolutely worth a watch.
Fantastic.
This is wonderful. However, a lot of people like Rod Steiger because they like his big emoting and they like, his
skin illustrations.
Yeah,
they love that.
They like it. They like him, acting at 9 or 10 a lot. Okay, well, and he's an actor that can go there, like George C. Scott. He can go there. He can do that. But that's not all he's about, and this movie is a good example of that. He is a simmering fire on the inside. Yeah. Absolutely, positively on the inside. He never has any big, huge chewing the scenery scenes, but this just shows how strong an actor is, how strong a lead he is, how strong a character actor as he is, that he keeps it all imploded inside of himself and he carries it through, and you're with Hennessy every step of the way.
It should also be said how brave of an actor he is, because here he is playing Hennessy, a distinctly Irish character in 1974, 1975, making a movie about the IRA, and not just any movie, a very large statement about the IRA.
Yeah.
And he's come on in and he's playing this kind of everyman character, an Irish everyman character. And that's really brave for an American actor to go do that, to make that statement. I'm going to go make that statement.
Well, he's so good in the movie, but there is an aspect because we like Rod Steiger intense. Now, he's intense through this whole movie, but it's like I said, it's imploded.
Yeah.
So you could actually be wondering, well, are we wasting Rod Steiger in this? Now, the answer I would say would be no. Part of his plan to get into, I guess, the House of Commons is to kidnap a member of Parliament.
And masquerade.
And masquerade as him.
Yeah.
And he does this. And when he does the whole masquerade, he shaves his head, he puts on, he creates a completely whole new look and face for himself. And that's where the Rod Steiger we know kind of comes in. It's not like he starts acting all big then either, but he literally turns himself into another person.
He's also going from a very believable and very understated Irish accent, and then having that character practicing doing English, because he's playing now a different character. He's playing an Englishman.
But also the look is so amazing. You can't take your eyes off it because he looks like Stalin.
Like Stalin or Louis C.K.
Yeah. He looks so much like Louis C.K. It's not even funny. But okay, well, he looks like Louis C.K. in close-ups.
Yes.
But in all
That's
the
it.
wide shots, he looks like Stalin or
Lenin, yeah.
or a pudgy. Not Stalin, but I don't mean Stalin. I meant Lenin. I meant Lenin.
Yeah.
I meant Lenin.
Lenin.
He looks like Lenin, or he looks like a pudgy Ivan the Terrible from the Eisenstein film.
Totally.
But it's such a fucking specific look, all right? And he pulls it off so great.
That moment where he's kind of tied up the actual politician guy at his house, and then he's visited by the cop.
Yeah.
And we're given this kind of Die Hard moment.
It absolutely
Hans Gruber, McClane moment where they're together.
It absolutely is a Die Hard moment. Richard Johnson shows up, all right, at the politician's house looking for Hennessy.
Yeah.
But he's never met the politician.
But he looks enough like him.
But he looks
at
enough.
this point.
He knows him from the TV and stuff, but he's never met him. And he meets Rod Steiger, and he thinks he's the politician.
Yeah, Rod Steiger's like, Showtime is on. Showtime's on.
While the politician is tied up in a chair, gagged in the other room.
Yeah.
That scene is awesome, man.
And the fact that he then gets them to give him a police escort.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Like, he actually manipulates the situation so well. He's so clever in his plan.
We can't say any more about his plan.
You're
now.
right. You're right. And maybe we are even giving too much away. And maybe this show in particular needs a little, because of the way the events unfold. Maybe people should, have a little bit of a warning and go out and, do your homework.
I don't think we should say any more because, again, part of the fun of the movies is discovering what Hennessy's plan is as it goes on.
In talking about Hennessy, I just want to be upfront and let everybody know that I don't know anything about the IRA. I am not equipped to understand the decades and decades and hundreds of thousands and thousands of years probably that these two islands have been having and that it's a religious thing. I don't know anything about it. What I've learned from Ireland, I've learned from the movies. I was backpacking through Europe in 1987 and I kissed the Blarney Stone at Castle Blarney. Don't know if you're allowed to do that anymore, but I highly advise you to do it because you might end up with a podcast afterwards. And so that's the limit of what I know. And so watching this movie and watching how it unfolds and watching how his character goes from everyman, pacifist. No, I don't know if he's a pacifist, but he's a non-violent, ordinary, everyday.
He does say, I don't believe in violence.
Yeah, he's a working man. When suddenly faced with
unspeakable tragedy.
Unspeakable tragedy. The worst thing that can happen to a man is to lose his family. So I guess what I'm getting at is the emotions that come out of him and the tactic that he takes is hard for me to wrap my head around. And at the same time, it's not hard for me to wrap my head around. I can understand it from afar and from a distance without really fully understanding the intricate details of that entire conflict, which is, Catholic Protestant. I'm with him. Yeah. The weird thing about this is, I'm with him. He's just how I was with George C. Scott, feeling rage. His loss is so great that he wants to destroy it all. He wants to bring it all down. And he is going to blow up fucking England, basically.
And the fact that he's so methodical about it, you can't help but admire him. All right.
You absolutely admire him. You absolutely admire him. And then when suddenly you realize that the IRA who should be for him and supporting it, he's doing exactly what they should do. Now they want to stop him and
for political reasons. For political reasons.
Well, and I even look at it as more than political reasons. It's money.
No, it is money.
It's business.
No.
It's bullshit. And that's why he's doing what he's doing is because you guys aren't doing bullshit. All you're doing is continuing this conflict.
This hamster on a wheel.
This never-ending conflict. And you want it to stop. I demolish things. And the first thing he's seen demolishing is industry.
Yeah.
The industry of old.
Well
he's
said.
taking down smokestacks. He's wiping out the industry of old. And I think they're putting in condominiums.
Yeah.
And so they're talking about repopulating an area, probably part to do with the whole conflict between the people there.
They don't express this directly. They don't this will bring the whole world on us. Well, we just got their hearts and minds and now we'll lose them. But you're right. The money aspect of it is the IRA was pretty much being kept afloat by Irish Americans sending donations.
They just want to keep it going.
All right. And like all that stuff.
This is business at
and
this point.
And if they just blow up England and the Queen, all that will stop.
Yeah,
the entire spigot will stop. Now, it was really interesting when I was telling Roger about the movie before we watched it. I mean, like the day before, I think we watched it. I was talking to him about it, and I was kind of describing it.
Yeah, you've been we've been threatening this movie for a long time.
Yeah,
I've been seeing that beautiful box on your coffee table for weeks now.
Yeah, because it's another one of the like cool, intense Rod Steiger lead performances. You know, and we all of a sudden got a Rod Steiger theme going on here, and we're happy with it. So when I told you about the story, I remember you saying, "Wow, that sounds really good." Except since I know he's not going to blow up the Queen, I'm already disappointed.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't, be clear, I don't want to blow up the Queen. I never would.
No,
I am like Rod Steiger at the beginning of this movie, an anti-violent man.
No.
Having said that.
No, it's like, well, why watch The Day of the Jackal? Because I know he's not going to kill de Gaulle, all right? Because de Gaulle lived.
Frankly, the thing that you did brilliantly in Glorious Bastards was to actually fucking kill Hitler.
I rewrote the book when it came to that. Yeah. Sorry, Hennessy. Sorry, Day of the Jackal. All right. I went where no man had gone before. All right. Actually, there was a movie that went before
I'm sure that there's been a few.
It's called, not a few, but there was one during Hitler's time called Hitler Dead or Alive, directed by a guy named Nick Grendel, which is really...
Nick Grendel?
Yeah, which is really good.
A name after my own heart.
Ward Bond is in it. It's really good. It's a good movie. We could watch it sometime.
I'd love to.
Hitler Dead or Alive.
dead, please.
And I understand that kind of thinking. So we haven't even mentioned the director yet, and it's Don Sharp, all right, who I think he's done a lot of stuff. He did Bear Island with Donald Sutherland, an Alistair MacLean story. But what I really remember him doing, and it was really popular when it came out, was his Robert Powell remake of Hitchcock's The 39 Steps.
Yeah.
And that was really popular when that came out. That did really good. But Don Sharp is a good journeyman British action director. What they do in Hennessy that's really, really neat is, it's all about the first day of Parliament when everybody's there. They take footage, all right, from that first day of Parliament, and they very cleverly start working little by little Rod Steiger into the footage.
Yeah.
And
seamlessly, the way this movie, the way it's shot.
So completely seamlessly that I do not think that they just bought, maybe once they get inside the House of Commons, but the whole progression where the coach from Buckingham Palace brings the Queen up and all the people lined on the street, that does not look like they bought footage from the BBC and then edited it around cleverly in the movie. That looks like the crew that shot Hennessy shot that footage.
It sure does look like that. Whether it was or whether it wasn't,
I'm betting it is.
The DP, Ernest Stewart, matched everything. The movie is seamless.
Like, matching never happens that good. It just never happens that good. It's not, it just, I've seen too many movies try to do this, and you can always see the seams.
There's a grain difference. There's a color timing difference.
It's shot with the exact same film stock. It's shot with the exact same camera. The gaffers are the same gaffers. They're using the exact same light sources that the entire movie has been using.
Well, could they have started with the documentary footage and then reverse engineered the look of the movie after that? They must have.
They could have done that anytime. They could have. Yeah. The first day of Parliament could have happened during pre-production, and they shot it. It could have happened 2 weeks after principal photography is over. It could have happened right smack dab in the middle. It's just, I've seen this kind of thing before. It's never as seamless as this. Now, once they get into the House of Commons, that might not be our crew shooting. I am betting,
for sure not.
Yeah. But even that.
Well, because wasn't there...
It just looks a little fuzzier.
The disclaimer at the very beginning of the movie, though, says that, that footage was shot, or documentary footage, or I can't remember the exact wording.
Well, it says that the Queen is not part of this.
The Queen was not part of this. This footage was not intended for that.
However, okay,
the procession, maybe.
The procession leading up to there, anybody can shoot that.
For sure.
You just have to be on the sidewalk.
Well, but in 1974, 1975, for sure that in those days, they would have been using 35 millimeter also. To shoot just the state would have been using.
I don't think that. I think BBC would be shooting 16. Of course they would be shooting 16. It's showing them playing on television. If they were shooting a short to be played in theaters, maybe 35 millimeter. But no, that would normally be 16. For a news thing. But anyway, it's funny to say it's kind of thrilling when our fictional characters actually enter into the real world and there's no give. They just go together.
I was absolutely convinced that I was going to be unsatisfied with the ending of the film based on, I know what's going to happen. It's like watching Valkyrie. It's crazy. It's going to be unsuccessful. Like, we know that historically. To my disbelief, even though what I knew didn't happen, the movie still found a way to satisfy me. I am completely satisfied with the ending of the movie.
Yeah,
it was as good as blowing up the Queen. It's satisfying in a movie.
Yeah,
as a big event like that.
It's crazy how satisfying it is in the climax. It's fun. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun. F-U-N. It's fun. And
it's weird because Justice has been, our cop guy who we're kind of rooting for, but I found myself rooting for Rod Steiger. Yeah.
I'm rooting for it, but not to stop Rod Steiger. I want him to keep getting there like a day late and $1 short or a pound short. All right. But one of the things that was really great was we're watching the movie when Hennessy was escaping these guys who were chasing after him, and Roger's like so into the movie by this point. All of a sudden, go Hennessy, go Hennessy, go!
Jump the fence! Watch out for the IRA! Look out for that fucking cop!
Yeah.
He's like a freaking monster coming after you, and he plays it like one. He's like this hulking, mean guy who's breaking all the rules and like.
Which, by the way, Richard Johnson is playing a complete character for him. He never plays a guy like this. He's always suave and debonair, and he's not some hunched over,
cigarette smoking, angry,
dirty suit wearing guy.
He just wants sick of the rules. Mm-hmm. This IRA thing. If you could just let me at them, and he's got a personal beef with these guys.
It's a very offbeat role for him, and
he's playing like a New York cop.
Yeah, he is playing it he's playing it like Gene Hackman.
Yeah, he's totally like
he's like a British Gene Hackman from French Connection. Yeah.
That's exactly.
But it's not this methodical story leading up to this and that and to a big explosive ending. There's an incredibly suspenseful sequence right smack dab in the middle of the movie where Hennessy's one contact in London is the wife of his best friend who worked for the IRA and died.
Was killed in some kind of operation.
Killed in some sort of IRA escapade.
And it may have even been the one with the cop.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was that. Now that you bring it up, I think it was. And Lee Remick doing a pretty decent Irish accent, if you ask me. Yeah. All right. And I think after this movie, it's like pretty, only a couple movies later, she's doing The Omen.
Yeah. Yeah, she must have been living in England.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because it's like she did the Medusa touch around that time.
All these British movies that she's
in right around that time. So he's staying with her, and she's covering him, and they're good friends, and they might have been more than friends, but who knows? But the situation is the IRA gets in touch with her, and they're like, "Look, we don't want to kill him. We don't want to kill him.
Why would we want to do it? We just want to take him
He's my
back.
brother. He's my brother. Because this is his brother coming after him. We're just going to take him back. We're just going to take him home. We're just going to take him home." So he calls and says, "Okay, I'm coming over." She goes, "Yeah, come on over." And so the IRA guys are
waiting for
all there. And there's like 3 or 4 of them. They're all camped out. There's guys outside. There's guys in the apartment. About 4 or 5 people. Yeah. And they're waiting for him to show up, and he starts showing up. And we know they're going to execute him. They're going to kill him right then and there.
Yeah, they've been given the orders by the top guy back in
yeah.
Ireland who's like, get rid of him.
Yeah.
Kill him.
He's
too much of a liability.
And his brother even like, well, okay, you're for your brother or you're for Ireland, you know?
Yeah, and which is, again, a comment on the IRA and this whole mentality, you know, which is, who are you, you know, what is more important to you, the cause or personal issues? And they have to choose the cause.
They have to
You see those
cause.
other guys looking at him like, hey, what are you going to say in that moment? They're
because they've given their life to the cause, and so much so that, okay, even if they did blow up the Queen and everything, maybe that might change things in Ireland, but then they'd be out of business.
Yeah.
Their life is the cause.
And Steiger knows this.
Yeah.
His character knows absolutely what these guys are all about.
When all these hitmen, these IRA hitmen are camped out there, and Hennessy comes walking into the trap, and we know poor Lee Remick has been duped. She doesn't know what's going on. It's one of the most suspenseful scenes I've seen, like, in a bit.
Yeah.
It was so suspenseful. It was so exciting. It was a really terrific sequence, right smack dab in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, and then they hit you hard with,
and then what happens is a fantastic action scene. I mean, fantastic
and devastating at the same time. It's gnarly, and you know, suffice it to say, it just makes you realize that Hennessy is a man alone, and his cause is not the IRA cause.
Yeah,
he is completely separate from all of them.
He's like, you know, his world was destroyed and he's going to blow up the world. And I will say one thing before we go to our break. I think a case could be made that Queen Elizabeth might be eligible for Best Supporting Actress. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But it is a pretty fucking great moment she has in the movie. I will say that.
I actually do have one thing to say about Hennessy and his kind of awareness of the IRA. When they come to him and, you know, he arrives in England, they get sent a couple of IRA goons to, you know, kind of meet with him and, come on, Hennessy, we're here to take you back.
Yeah.
And so they get him,
Patrick Stewart being one of them.
And Patrick Stewart is one of them with hair.
No, not much. He still has the ball plate.
With more than normal, but it was
more
actually
than Picard.
It was actually kind of cool seeing him playing a young punk.
Yeah.
And
you look like Duvall.
Yeah, actually totally looked like Duvall. When they pull a gun on him, just to hold a gun on him, he fucking goes after them and wrestles them immediately, shoots the guy. I'm a little surprised he didn't kill the other guy.
Yeah.
But he knows, the thing is, Hennessy knows right away what they're about.
Yeah.
He knows enough about them. It's why he's not with them.
Yeah.
He knows more than I know. Like, if the IRA guys came to me, they're like, hey, come on, Roger, I got to take you back to Ireland. Like, this is bullshit what you're doing. I'd probably end up going with them and I'd be dead.
Yeah.
Rod Steiger, on the other hand, knows to, like, you know, act now.
Well, okay. I think there's a little ambiguity in the film as far as, but in a good way. Whereas I think at that point in time,
it's still accidental.
They could have taken him back to Dublin. I don't think those guys are necessarily there to execute it.
Hadn't the edict been given already?
A sort of edict had been given, but it becomes solid after he kills those guys.
After that guy's killed.
They go, well, they pulled the gun. They pulled a gun on him to keep him calm. They weren't trying to execute him, or they would have shot him then and there.
Yeah.
And his first response is to shoot them.
You wrestle the gun, shoot the guy dead. And we're back with Gala.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Quentin.
Hey.
Okay, so I always forget Rod Steiger's nationality. Every time I watch a movie, I just totally fall into his performance. Like with Dirty Hands, I actually thought, because I watched the French, I actually thought he was French. And with this, I totally thought that he was Irish. I was
when you watched Duck You Sucker, you thought he was Mexican.
It I did.
He plays a pretty good Mexican.
But
he plays a pretty good Irishman. He plays a pretty good Frenchman.
He's a great theater actor. He can play all these roles.
Rod Steiger can do it all.
Yes, he can.
Yeah, Rod Steiger, amazing. The way the gun goes off, as you guys described, is so brilliant because it's like, who is at fault now for the death? The person who like throws the brick is partially responsible also. So it's like both the Irish and the Brits are responsible for his family's death. And it's such a good way to set it up.
Oh,
because
I hadn't thought about that. And not that he necessarily knows that, but I guess maybe he does later. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because he's against the conflict.
No, you're right. The brick thrower is just as responsible as the soldier.
Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because the soldier doesn't mean to do it. The brick thrower doesn't want the soldier's gun to go off, but so it's just like it's a wonderful thing because like who is to blame and who is Rod Steiger to go after?
And I think another guy.
Okay, I'm waiting for Gala to have the conspiracy. No, that British guy meant to shoot all those guys, man. I don't buy that bullshit. Don't be so naive, Quentin. Obviously, that was planned from the very beginning to wipe out those guys. In fact, I bet that kid throwing that brick was a fucking Brit.
A plant.
They waited until she walked out of the orthopedic doctor's office to throw the brick. No, I'm not going to go that crazy today.
Oh, just like at Rage, okay? No, the pilots, hey, look at those guys down there, man. Let's try out our nerve gas. Yeah, good idea.
I like how this is my accent that Quentin has given me, like the surfer bro. I'm glad that's who I am.
Hey, look at those two dudes down there.
I think you're doing me in the 80s.
I'm doing you as your daughter. Hey, man.
It's really funny because I don't know if everyone knows this. I don't know if we've talked about it before, but I mean, Quentin and Roger do, obviously. But after we record, we always watch a movie. And this movie had the train killer vibes to me.
Yeah.
Like, and people,
it does. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it does.
And I loved The Train Killer. I can't stop thinking about that movie.
That's a movie we watched based on a real life story about a guy bombing trains in Hungary after World War I. And it was starred Michael Sarrazin.
Yeah.
And it was a really good film.
It's a really good movie. And this like Hennessy and The Train Killer kind of, and I guess Rage, it's like a Venn diagram. Like we're all kind of like overlap with each other. So
I think the train killer is a little less sympathetic than Steiger and Scott.
He's a little bit more of a sociopath.
No, he's like the sociopath part of this Venn diagram.
Strangely enough, though, the movie starts getting
kind of pair. They pair up. They cluster together.
Yeah, but the movie starts kind of like, if not rooting for him, not describing a story about the Unabomber.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. But anyway, I like that. I just had to point out because I love that movie. And Patrick Stewart playing a thug. Hilarious to me, growing up with Picard, and then all of a sudden just seeing him.
I wanted more.
He's like a Shakespearean. I wanted more.
Yeah, I wish he was in it longer.
I wish there was more Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, me too.
In general.
And then my favorite part of the movie actually is when we see Lee Remick for the first time.
Yeah.
Because the moment that Rod Steiger walks in and Lee Remick is in her shop, and she's actually telling this woman, this outfit's not for you. Like, don't even bother trying it on. And Rod Steiger walks in, he's just kind of standing there. And then she like sees him. And when they connect, it told me everything I needed to know. Yeah. It didn't tell me like they were in love or anything, but it just told me that they had like this deep connection that went back to like when they were kids or like teens or something. And that like she would be the one person that he could go to. And it was a wonderful moment.
No, I mean, it's almost as if the relationship that he had with her and her husband is similar to the relationship that James Coburn had in Duck You Sucker with that other Irish guy and his girlfriend.
Yeah, for sure.
Where they're a threesome that do everything together.
Yeah.
You said it when you mentioned that she's all about the truth. Mm-hmm. Like she's probably with her husband, she had been living a lie because he's not telling her what he's doing and what's going on. And so then he's dead.
No, she has a great line about that.
And then you Irishmen, you're either on your knees praying or on your knees firing a gun.
And so she's there.
Such a good line.
So she's there. You don't need to know. It's better you don't know. How many times did my husband tell me that? How many times did I hear that from my husband?
And so she's living.
Right now.
She's now living a life in England of truth, where even she's telling her customer, "This won't look good on you." She's telling the truth to her own detriment, and that practically occurs in the moment with them, where she believes them. And then when she realizes they've lied to me, she again tries to go after truth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well said, Avery.
To her ultimate detriment.
Yeah. Well said, Avery. It's really, really well said.
And also, she's the one person that recognizes what Rod Steiger is doing, because when he's in the kitchen, he comes like down for the first time, and she looks at him like when they first are sitting down. She said, like, you sound just like my husband.
Yeah.
In that moment, and she realizes like something's wrong.
He's hiding things.
He's
from
hiding
her.
something.
He's lying to her.
And he's
a
gonna
lie
go
of
out.
omission is still a lie.
Yeah, and he's gonna go out and he sounds just like my husband. It was a great line.
But also there is this also just neat aspect about the fact that Lee Remick isn't just cool and nice in the movie. She's down.
Yeah.
She's going to, he goes, well, I don't know where it's like, you're going to stay here. Okay, that's settled. Here we go. Boom. All right.
Yeah.
She is there to take care of him. She's there to help him and to get, even though she doesn't know exactly what's going on, she is a ride or die bitch.
Yeah, she is ride or die.
Yeah.
Richard Johnson as the inspector is like so unexpectedly intense. I was like, not like, and I love it because it's like so aggressive, and the way that he plays it is just like so, and I love it. And it really balances well because Rod Steiger in this performance is giving like an incredibly sensitive performance.
Yeah. That's well said.
And it's like he's sensitive at the beginning when he's saying, I'm not down with violence, but then he's somehow still sensitive throughout the movie, even when he's planning to blow up
he
the
never
queen.
physically mourns. He's not there for the funeral services that are for his wife, child, and the other people who were killed. He never actually outwardly, other than standing there on the street, surrounded by British army and his dead family on the ground. Other than that moment where he's not even with them at first, he
runs
can't
up and
even
grabs.
approach them at first. It's so horrible for him. That's the only moment we actually see him grieve. After that, he's moving forward to exact his
Revenge.
I want to call it vengeance, but I'm not even sure it's vengeance. His completion of the conflict.
Yeah.
His resolution of this conflict.
Yeah, revenge.
That he is going to personally bring an end to.
It's too puny.
Yeah.
He is going to demolish it the way he demolishes old buildings.
Also, his transformation into the other character.
Yeah.
It's like Mission Impossible level like transformation. It is
great.
so good. Like when he's like changing his contacts and how he's like listening to how the guy talks. That's an amazing performance. And also it's strangely believable. Like even to me as a viewer watching it, when I see the two actors side by side, like the guy in the chair who's being like, and when he transforms, I'm like, okay, I would believe that.
Well, when he pulls it off, like I said, when he pulls it off, that's when you realize why Rod Steiger is playing this role.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually bought this on DVD, but the day I went to go watch it, it actually became free on Amazon Prime.
Oh, wow.
So I watched it for free on Amazon Prime. And I also happened to pick up a VHS tape of it. It is the same box that you have not in.
That pretty much has Richard Johnson on the cover.
I know. Richard Johnson.
I love
really
the kind of line art quality of that.
It's almost like comic book style.
Yeah.
I got mine for $13.95.
A bargain at twice the price.
Honestly, I agree.
Okay, and we're back for our third and final movie of the episode. And this is a little classic, literally a classic gem.
This is one of the most beautiful movies I've seen in recent memory.
Oh,
Quite honestly, I think the version we saw was either two-tone or black and white on tape. It was a rough transfer.
Yeah, it looked like a two-color transfer. Yeah, but that's almost why it looks so good, though, at the same time.
Yeah, well, I happened to walk past Gala as she was watching the film, and I quickly averted my eyes because of how clear and beautiful.
Oh, really? It was, as opposed to our Sinister Cinema copy.
Yeah, and colorful, and so I'm going to watch this movie again, probably many times over the course of my life.
Okay, well, here's the deal. I actually love our version of it, but I am dying of curiosity. This is one that I'm dying of curiosity to see a Blu-ray version of, or a full color DVD of. That would be really cool. But I find it hard to believe I'm going to like like it drastically better than our sepia tone version. So the movie that we're showing today is from 1961. It's the USSR Russian classic science fiction film, The Amphibian Man. Some of you, if you're Russian, you've heard of The Amphibian Man. And if you're not Russian, maybe you haven't heard of it. As an American, I heard about it because basically it was a staple for years on local television. Basically what happened was they made the movie Amphibian Man, and I guess in 61, and American International Pictures bought it, but they didn't release it theatrically. Instead, they put out a black and white version as part of their TV package. Oh. And AIP TV, their TV movie packages were very, very popular. So they sold them all over the 52 states, just in different local markets.
Like a 16 millimeter.
Yeah, you buy 8 titles or 12 titles, and you get the 16 millimeter prints.
So you saw this on like KTLA or KCOP?
Actually, at Channel 9. Channel 9 is who owned Amphibian Man, and KHJ Channel 9 is who owned Amphibian Man in Los Angeles in the late 60s, early 70s. So for a period there, from mid 60s, the 60s, and into the early 70s, Amphibian Man was actually in rotation quite a lot on local television because of the AIP packages were very popular. So you could see Amphibian Man quite a bit, like on Saturday or Sundays in the afternoon. But when all those movie avenues started drying up at some point in the 70s and the 80s, at least the way they were, Amphibian Man disappeared. And it never showed up on television again. And in America, it never popped up on any video cassettes. And this was back before there was like a collectible market for people trying to turn this stuff over. So Amphibian Man just always remained one of these things that I saw when I was 6. Well, I watched with my father, on local television. Time goes on. I grow up. I go to Russia. I meet other Russian filmmakers.
You become a spy. You come back and start becoming a film director.
Yes, exactly. Just as a bogus line, money laundering scheme. All right. So the thing about it is, from time to time, one of my things I would do when I'm in other countries is I don't just bring up like their most famous movies by their most famous artistic directors or who the West has deemed their most worthy artistic directors, because they're sick of hearing Americans talk about
They don't want to hear you talk about Eisenstein and Pudovkin and whoever else.
So the thing is, I would always bring up their genre cinema, and usually I was an expert to some degree of at least the genre cinema that made it to the Western shores. I started bringing up to different filmmakers, Amphibian Man. Have you ever seen Amphibian Man? And they go, of course they've seen Amphibian Man. You know about Amphibian Man? Well, yes, it was popular for a period of time on local television. Oh, wow. Well, Quentin, just so you know, to ask a Russian, have you ever seen Amphibian Man? It would be like asking an American, have you ever seen The Wizard of Oz? Of course we've seen Amphibian Man. We've all seen Amphibian Man. It's one of the most popular Russian movies of all time. I mean, the entire country has seen the movie. The entire country knows about the film. Anyway, so we're watching the Sinister Cinema video of
which looks like a box that I drew for you.
Yeah, exactly. So Sinister Cinema doesn't have specially designed boxes for their specially designed movies. They just have their one Sinister Cinema sleeve that it is sitting, resting very comfortably in. But the idea of the story of Amphibian Man, there's this kind of villainous character that is trying to corner the market on the pearl diving.
He's cornering the pearl diving market.
He's cornering the pearl diving market. And he's a very dynamic villain. And he's very sexy. He's good looking. Handsome. Yeah, he looks like a Russian Paul Newman. And not only that, he looks like Russian Paul Newman in The Outrage. All right. So he looks like when Paul Newman's trying to play a rascally character. Yeah. And so he owns this boat, and he has all these pearl divers that are practically like slaves, but they're not quite. All right. And they're in. Okay. So also, it looks obvious that the film was filmed in Cuba. Now, Is it exactly supposed to be taking place in Cuba? I don't know. It could be Cuba. It could be some fictionalized Latin American country. But it's definitely Cuba they shot it in.
It's like a Johnny Quest's country that might take place in Johnny Quest. It's like a Latin American country. Everybody has sombreros.
Yes, but it's for sure. It's for sure shot in Cuba.
For sure.
And
like we can see streets of Cuba, streets of Havana.
What looks like to me streets of Cuba. Yeah.
The cars that are still driving around.
The
Havana.
cars themselves, yeah. Which back then they were still kind of newish.
Yeah.
Right.
And they drive outside of the city, and you see, plantations and sugarcane and stuff.
And like you said, everybody's always wearing sombreros.
Yeah.
He's trying to corner the market on these pearl divers. Meanwhile, he's also in love with the daughter of this one Indian guy who owns a boat that he's one of the boats he uses. And the daughter's going to have nothing to do with him, but he's wanted her forever. And so there's all that tension going on.
It's like his first mate or something.
Yeah, well, I can't tell if
he's like the captain who runs the boat.
Yeah, you're right.
Or the guy who's like kind of in charge of running the boat, and they've got all these crew people.
Yeah, it's almost like the like the guy's right hand man, his overseer. All right, is her father.
Because the guy looks like a pirate.
Yeah.
And then our villain guy dresses like he's like going to a club in the 1980s.
Yeah.
He's got like a suit on.
Well, when he's not
cool
dressed
suit.
like a pirate.
That's true. Yeah.
But the thing is that it's been reported that there's a devilfish in the ocean, and some of the divers have actually seen this devilfish, and they're scared of it, and they won't go in the water when there's the devilfishes around. And the daughter that the bad guy loves is in the ocean, and she's attacked by a shark. And then this devilfish shows up, and it's not a devilfish, obviously, it's Amphibian Man. And Amphibian Man fights the shark, kills the shark, and chases it away, and then ends up saving the woman. But now only the bad guy, pirate guy, who's trying to corner the market on pearls, all right, he's the only one who actually sees that Amphibian Man is the one who saved the woman. And so he takes credit for saving the woman because he wants to get in good with her. But also he realizes, oh, hey, that's not a devilfish. That's a man. That's a man down there with gills. That's a man that can breathe underwater.
The ultimate pearl diver.
Well, I'm going to find that man and I'm going to make him my slave, all right? And he's going to be finding pearls for me 24/7. I'm going to be the richest man in the world. Ha ha! And then that's the setup of the story. And then
he's the ultimate villain against communism, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like you've got all these people who are being oppressed and repressed and having to work and they're finding pearls for this rich dickhead.
So he finds the seventh wonder of the world, the man that can breathe in the water. I shall make him my slave, and he shall toil under my chains as he makes me richer and richer and richer. Now, it turns out what happened was Amphibian Man is the son of the truly great, almost like this Captain Nemo-like figure in this Cuban country that has a lair either underground or in the water or whatever that is bigger and more ostentatious than any Bond villain lair. It looks like a spaceship that he lives on.
Yeah, it's like suddenly Wes Anderson designed his home.
Yeah.
And he's got this crazy house with like that amazing, diving bell elevator.
Oh yeah, the diving bell elevator is amazing.
And it goes up fantastic. To this Lautner style
and it's all
amazing house up on the cliff.
And it's all built inside of the cliffs of an underwater cliff.
Yeah, it looks like Ken Adam showed up to do sets. In fact, I have to say the production design and the costumes in this movie were simply outstanding.
They were outstanding.
They were unreal how good they were.
And the whole deal of Amphibian Man is he was a normal boy that something happened to him somewhere along the way. I can't remember exactly the whole story, but somehow his lung got collapsed and he wasn't able to get the right side of the lung or a human lung. So he got the gills from a shark.
Yeah.
And put it in Amphibian Man and just like, well, I don't know if it's going to work. Let's just see. The boy's dead anyway, so let's just see. Well, not only does it works amazing. And he's created a whole new type of person that doesn't exist before. And now he's caught up in a megalomaniac idea of, I'm going to create a master race of these amphibian boys.
A republic.
Yeah, a republic.
An underwater republic.
An underwater republic, and I'm going to rule. I'm going to rule the deep blue sea.
I like when he tells the reporter guy, the reporter character, what's going on and what he's done. He's like, well, what you've done is simply a miracle and a medical thing, and being able to get somebody to breathe underwater. But this idea of republic,
it's kind of crazy. Yeah,
it's kind of a crazy idea.
You're kind of bearing your lead about the whole miracle thing you did with this cockamamie idea of conquering the sea with your zombie army. But the thing about it is, Amphibian Man is a real man. He's a young boy. He's about like 19 years old.
Like a super handsome young boy. Once he takes off that amazing,
he's got the Amphibian Man costume is part of the reason why it works so well. And they show it a lot, and the film doesn't even need as good a production design as it has because the Amphibian Man costume is so fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Especially with that Quicksilver helmet that he has, which you were like, is that a helmet or is that his head?
Well, when it first begins, because as it begins, we're meant to believe this could be a creature of the Black Lagoon type situation with all these divers and everything.
And you can't quite tell at first.
And you can't tell at first. And you don't know what you're looking at. And then you start seeing... And by the way that they shoot all the underwater stuff is incredibly well done.
Yeah.
It's absolutely striking and beautiful. And
the film is justly a classic. It's a beautiful little fairy tale of a movie. There's a gentleness about the whole film. There's a gentleness about the imagery. While it's still being remarkable, it's also remarkably gentle. But also it has not seeing it in full color. I'm prepared to like my Sinister Cinema version slightly better. I don't know if that will be the case, but I'm prepared for it to be the case. But the simple fact that the almost two-tone color in it, the sepia quality of it, gave it the look of hand-painted lobby cards.
Yeah, it really did.
Where you would no, this lobby card was painted by hand, somewhere with a watercolor, boom, 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 painted all these drawings up, and then they did another one, and then they did another one, and then they did another one. This looks like if there was such a thing as taking watercolors and painting the frame by hand, if that such a thing could exist, you would believe that Amphibian Man did it.
Well, the film survives whatever. I was going to call it degradation, but it's not that. Whatever. Whatever.
That negative of term.
I didn't mean it to be negative.
I know you did.
What I mean more is like its transformation into this delivery format.
This is not how it was shown in the theaters in Moscow.
It does not. It does not suffer at all. Weirdly, at least because I was just as transfixed and engaged in the movie. And part of it,
not only does it not suffer, it seems to highlight the film's own virtues to some degree.
At one point, and it wasn't even very far into the movie. It was 5-10 minutes into the movie. You turned to me and I kind of turned to you and you said, this is so classically shot.
Yeah.
It is so well, the images, one image that follows the next, that connects to the next, that connects to the next. Everything links and there's no extraneous stuff that's just shot and put in.
Well, yeah.
It's as if everything is visual information that's telling a story and the shots exist for a reason.
Well, it's
beautifully done.
There is
framed very well.
There is
staged really well.
There is a bad point to having a state-sponsored film division, and there's good points about it.
Sure.
Okay. The bad points is, it's not auteur driven. There's not all these wild little oddball movies that just kind of exist outside of the commercial plane, outside of the studio plane. The good part is there's no such thing as a low budget, left-handed, no one gives a shit kind of movie. That's Moss Films using everything to the best of their ability and with their greatest technicians and with the greatest history of Soviet filmmaking behind them, throwing all their weight behind something like Amphibian Man in a way that they would not handle a science fiction story like this in 1961 in America. I mean, you have to go to Forbidden Planet to find them trying to take a movie this seriously. And Amphibian Man, it just waxes on it.
Absolutely.
Forbidden Planet is juvenile by comparison to Amphibian Man, and Amphibian Man is juvenile. It's meant to be it's
an adventure.
It's meant to be a children's fairy tale.
Yeah, children's adventure. Yeah.
And it's a beautiful children's fairy tale. But the Soviet filmmaking in it, the Dutch angle shots, constant Dutch angle shots, the constant, looking for the most punchiest frame.
Yeah.
All right. And that frame is orchestrated perfectly to tell the entire story inside of a frame.
And then actors who know how to command the space within the frame. Like they know how to position themselves and how to play to the camera properly.
Yeah, no, the actors know how to act as if they're on a political campaign poster.
Yeah.
They puff their chest out in just the right way. And they take the dastardly pose or they take the heroic pose.
Yeah.
And it's not corny the way they do it.
Not at all. I should mention Moss Film on YouTube has all of their movies available to watch. I'm not sure if Amphibian Man is where you saw that, but one of the nice things about Moss Film being who they are is that they've released everything. So if you want to go see, the 2.5 hour War and Peace or whatever.
2.5 hours.
No, I'm sorry. I was actually thinking of
Waterloo.
Yeah, Waterloo.
Yeah.
Or the
Rod Steiger Waterloo.
Yeah, the 4.5 hour War and Peace.
Yeah.
Like
Sergei Badachunk.
Yeah, you can get it all at the Moss Film YouTube channel, which is
that sounds like an awesome channel.
It's an excellent channel.
It sounds like an excellent channel.
They do it up.
But also, Russia is known for its editing, and
the pacing of this movie.
It's there right from the very beginning. You can tell that these are not just random shots that they put together, and then they went around to finding a rhythm in the editing room. No, these shots were all shot to create this edited sequence.
It's like they had Joe Dante there.
Yeah.
I mean, quite literally, somebody who's like, we need this, we need this, we need this. Everything works perfectly.
Now, I was just a little boy, and I wasn't following the whole story, so I don't know exactly what the deal is. But when I watched it when I was a little boy, I thought Amphibian Man died at the end. But I'm watching this here, and he definitely does not die at the end. And I could even imagine how I could see that last scene when he comes out of the water and he's talking to the
like
girl.
Like a tragic ending.
Yeah, I could see actually me thinking that was him dying.
Right.
But I don't remember them all frolicking around and everything was fine. I remember I thought that in the version that Channel 9 used to show during the daytime that he died at the end. So I'm kind of curious if anyone else remembers that version or if I was wrong. And we're back, and we're joined by Gala Giggles Avery.
Hello, I'm
Amphibian Girl.
I am the Amphibian Man. So Amphibian Man, aka Shelevik Amphibia. Mm-hmm. I'm learning Russian right now, so
Shelevik Amphibia.
Shelevik, I'm going to say this so wrong. I'm going to have someone contacting me and saying, "Oh, you got to say it right." But Shelevik Amphibia. I watched the Russian version, the Russian language. You guys watched a dub, right?
Yeah.
On the
we watched literally the version that they showed on Channel 9. Yeah.
But it's on YouTube, and there are two versions on YouTube. There is the Russian language with no subtitles, and that has 2.8 million views on YouTube. And then
because every year Russians watch that during the holidays.
And then someone
on YouTube.
And then someone, I wish I had the channel name written down, very graciously re-uploaded it. Has way less, I think 10,000 views. But they have translated it via the YouTube subtitles for you with actually really good English subtitles.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm really thankful for that.
So that's the version you watched?
That's the version I watched. And it's in beautiful full color.
Does he die at the end?
Okay, so no, but it feels like a death.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't completely wrong as a little kid to think that.
You're not wrong to think that because, and I'll get into that because honestly, I love Amphibian Man. I'm thinking about it. This
is the opposite of the Choirboys.
This is the opposite of the Choirboys.
In every way it can be.
Actually, it is the opposite because this is like a movie. This is my kind of movie.
This is totally Gala's kind of movie. As we were watching it, I'm like, okay, I know Gala's going to love this.
It's science fiction.
Gala's going to be in love with that Amphibian Man.
I am.
Boy.
I love Amphibian Man. I mean, it's science fiction. It's romance. Okay, so it's based on a novel originally by Alexander Belyavich.
Alexander
Belyaev. And apparently in the book, there's like this huge portion of the book all about the dolphins because they show one dolphin at like the very end.
Yeah.
But apparently there's like this whole thing about him and the dolphins and like how the dolphins are like his army and stuff like that.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know. And I think that was cool, but we didn't obviously have any of that really in the movie. I love the lead girl.
Yeah, me too.
Anastasia Vertinskaya.
Yeah, that kind of Bjork looking.
She looks like Janet Monroe and Darby O'Gill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right.
I
love Janet Monroe.
I love Janet Monroe and Darby O'Gill and the Little People. This movie, it's so fun. Okay, the shark guy, I want to call him Shark Man, Fish Man, the Amphibian Man. He's like wearing that cool like
shimmering outfit.
Yeah, say how cool it is, but like describe it. It's like that shimmering. It's like scales. Like he's wearing like this shark fin. And
it's the kind of outfit that like Submariner eventually adopted in the 70s.
Yeah.
He had a scaly kind of cape.
It's a superhero outfit that works, and he's got that kind of Mercury helmet or that.
And he has the actual shark fin on his head, and like the shark fin like again on his back, or the shark. Yeah, that's a fin. Yeah.
Yeah, and then kind of like goggles.
And he has the goggles. And my favorite part of this movie, though, is all the underwater shots.
Yeah.
Because they're so effortlessly done. Amphibian Man is actually down there, like, swimming around and, like, effortlessly swimming around.
Yeah, no, there's a genuine poetry
gorgeous.
To the underwater scenes. And there's something even kind of cool about the fact that they didn't have the greatest cameras in the world, so it's not like it's crystal clear. So it doesn't have that look that everything has now when they shoot underwater. You still got to film through the shit. You still got to film through the dirt. You still got to film through the bubbles. You still got to film through all that. But they get it.
And some of my favorite moments are actually when Anastasia Vertinskaya is underwater with him. Mm-hmm. Like for the first time when she falls underwater and she's kind of being attacked by the shark and she just falls to the bottom and she's so angelic under the water. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool thinking like these are actually two actors that are acting and finding a romantic connection underwater.
Yeah.
Like that's really tough. And then when he has all like those dream sequences and like he closes his eyes and then all of a sudden it glitters on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that only film can do with that kind of the lap dissolves over each other.
And it glitters on the screen. He closes his eyes and then he sees them swimming together under the water as if she was Amphibian Lady.
Yeah.
And it's like really romantic.
It is. No, it's...
I mean, it sounds funny. It's like, okay, look, it's not my fantasy, okay? But it's really sweet.
No.
I found it a lot more romantic than Shape of Water.
Yeah. I agree. And also, I love, like, when after he saves her, how he's sitting on the anchor and he's like, hey, how are you? I was worried about you. And she starts screaming, and it's just so casual.
But I also love him on the anchor. He looks like, hey,
how are you?
You okay? And he's like on an anchor.
As if it's just like a normal thing. Okay, so his dad, because his dad lives on like this giant cliffside rock in this like really modern cool house, and they keep like the
like
old
you keep thinking they cut to a spaceship, all right, every time you see the inside of his house. And
the old man keeps on calling him God, and I love that God's son is the devilfish. It's just like this like poetic thing, and all of the cool technology that they implement in the doctor's house. They have the man-shaped door.
The man-shaped door.
That is like a map with like a lagoon or something. And the lagoon itself is the shape of him. Like that. So It struck me when I saw it. Also, I immediately
go back. I want to see that door again.
And that cool ball elevator.
Like the diving bell elevator. Yeah, no, the diving bell elevator is amazing.
Yeah,
and it's like it's done a stop motion, and it's great stop motion.
Yeah,
it's so great.
This is wonderful miniature.
One thing that you guys might not have seen because of the transfer is that when they change from scene to scene, more towards the later, like the end of the movie, I'm not sure if they do it so much in the beginning, but it fades to red.
Oh, wow.
And like every time they come out of a sequence, it's like a red fade to the next one.
Oh, wow.
And was really interesting.
That's interesting. I wonder why.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out like why, and like I only started noticing it towards the end of the movie because I started picking up on it. Mm-hmm. But I wonder like why that was, but I don't know. I thought it was really cool.
You know what I was struck by watching the movie technically is I started getting Soy Cuba feelings.
I
am Cuba. In that the crew on that film felt like, what do you want to do? Anything is possible. Well, I want the camera to, go through the crowd and then go into the pool and then come out of the pool and do this and that. okay. And the crews there did it.
Yeah.
And I felt that same kind of energy, that can-do energy on this film. Energetic in a way that I'm not used to seeing in, American monster exploitation movies of the same period.
Well,
they're not really comparable.
They are not comparable to the Soviet science fiction classics because they're just dealing on just a different level.
One of my favorite sequences in the movie is the first time that after he sees her and saves her, that he says, I have to go and find her again. Because the amphibian man can only survive out of water for so long. And so he braves it and he escapes from his father's house and he's like running through the city. And he's trying,
that's one of my favorite parts of it too.
And he wants to see her smile.
That's actually when it felt the most like Soy Cuba to me. With all that kind of jazz music going on.
Yeah, and it's cool white suit, and, getting all dirtier and dirtier as it goes on, but it's like a full-on white suit.
And cars going at every
and then hanging by the fountain and everything.
Yeah, and that's the best part is the fountain.
He's so lovely in the fountain sequence because he's just he needs water and then he sees the fountain, so he jumps in the water, but he doesn't know the
social norms.
He doesn't know the social norms that the humans.
He doesn't know that you're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to jump in the fountain,
And they're like laughing at him, and it could have been a moment where all of a sudden he could have felt really embarrassed about himself, but instead he doesn't.
Yeah.
Instead he actually helps this child.
No, he laughs with everybody, and
he never gets that they're laughing at him, and you don't want him to, and it's sweet that he doesn't. Yeah,
and then he saves a child from the fish. I think he's trying to steal a fish. A salted fish or something from the fish man. Not from the amphibian man, but from the man selling fish.
The fishmonger.
Which, by the way, one thing I love in this movie is that all the villains are the fishermen.
Yeah.
Like the fishmonger.
Movie called Amphibian Man or Fisherman seems like a good choice for the villain.
Even the fishmonger, the guy selling the fish is the villain. And I love how the fishman starts handing out he pushes the fishmonger into the fountain and then starts handing out the fish.
Fish are for free.
Yeah,
everyone can have a fish.
And he tells them,
just go get more in the ocean.
Yeah, he says they're like why are you not giving these? There are so many more where these came from. And it's this whole idea of like hand them out. So I found that a very touching moment. And I love also that he finds the water truck to escape from them and he actually climbs inside of the water truck. Oh, that's so
awesome. That's so clever.
And you know what was great? That happened in a wide shot where he was really far away and as he vanished into it, and we still understood exactly what was happening.
We still got it.
The joke worked really well visually from from a distance.
And we laughed. Ha ha!
Yeah,
see what he did? He's in the water fountain. He's in the water truck.
Go Amphibian Man!
Yeah.
Now, Quentin
he didn't say it as much as go Hennessy, go. All right, but he was like go Amphibian Man.
Yeah.
Not, go Hennessy, go. Go Hennessy, go.
Quentin brings up at the end that when he saw it as a child that he thought that Amphibian Man had died, and even though Amphibian Man now requires water to live, and so he has to leave his one true love and go live in the ocean, it feels like a death. When Amphibian Man separates from her. It's a loss. Yeah.
Okay, that's not the ending we have.
What's the ending that you guys have?
Okay, the ending we have is
they kind of laugh together.
They arrive and it's like, oh, at last I found you. Oh, it's great. Now we can be together. Yes, we can be. We can all be together. And then it cuts to a montage of them swimming around together. And well, how is she able to swim around with the Amphibian Man?
Do you guys have that whole prison sequence though? Where they go to prison?
Prison sequence? No.
Wait.
That sounds awesome.
How come Quentin?
Let me backtrack. Okay, so she marries the evil guy.
No, that we know.
Okay.
She marries Paul Newman.
Amphibian Man tries to break her out.
Yes. Okay, I remember that, yeah.
Amphibian Man's... Okay, then he kind of fails, but then her dad stabs her husband. Amphibian Man is able to escape, but then the police go and they arrest Amphibian Man and Amphibian Man's father for the murder.
Okay.
And then they go to prison, and they're in prison, and the jailers keep Amphibian Man in that giant tank of water.
Yeah.
That's right, because I did...
You're just telling the movie now, okay?
Yes,
okay.
No, but I did comment on, this jail has a tank for in case they catch an Amphibian Man.
But when they put Amphibian Man in the tank, when he gets out, his dad is like, I'm so sorry, because now you can only breathe water. Mm-hmm. And so now you can't live on land. And Amphibian Man starts dying when they're driving.
Oh.
And then they take him to the ocean and they put his gills back in.
And then they're like, breathe, Amphibian Man, breathe. And then he comes back to life. And then he like says goodbye to them.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That's not how it ends.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch to like double check that I wasn't
No. You're obviously right. All right. No, you just described us the whole movie.
Because we watched a TV version, which may have been altered
shorter
for television.
Yeah, shorter and everything. But the thing is, but no, they gave it a happy ending.
Okay, well, I was going to say the reason why for me it's so bittersweet and nice is because Amphibian Man through the entire movie knows that the journalist is in love with the main girl because they're childhood friends.
I hated the fucking journalist.
I don't like him either, but Amphibian Man is like a rock solid dude.
I generally...
He, like, identifies...
No, actually, okay. They actually have a line in the dub version where he's like, well, what about this guy? Yeah. She, well, what about him? Well, he's your boyfriend, obviously. So when's he not around? All right. That's right.
Is that when they're like at the dance?
Yeah, he's trying to get a. Yeah, exactly. He's like, well, when can I see you again?
That's so funny because in the subtitle version,
well, he's obviously your boyfriend. So when I want to be
in the subtitle version, it said like, oh, I see how he smiles at you. I'll come find you when you're alone.
Right.
Okay. No. In the English version,
I love this.
Yeah,
this
he's
is
like,
awesome.
yeah. In the English version, he's like, okay. So what about that guy? And she goes, well, what do you have to worry about him for? Well, he's obviously your boyfriend. So when is he not around so we can see each other? Okay, now let me ask you a question. Okay, is there an Amphibian Man song that they play again and again and again? Or is it just...
there is...
Well, there's that piece of music. That, whoa.
No, but there is like the one with the woman singing.
Yeah.
They do play that. They play that I think several times. But
they don't in the American version.
They play it at least once. There's like one really long sequence, and then
is she singing about Amphibian Man?
Yeah, she's singing about Amphibian.
Okay. So the only song sequence is that one song sequence that we see, and it's in Russian, so we don't know what they're singing.
I can't wait until Josh puts in the Amphibian Man song like right here, like right now, like let's sing it.
No, let's all listen to it for a moment.
The account where you can find Amphibian Man with English subtitles is called Varna Hello Y'all. All one word, that's VARNAHELLOYALL. I wanted to shout out this account because she's the one who did the translation and subtitles, and I really appreciated having them because we all know how much of a disaster auto-generated English subtitles can be during a movie like my Sonny and Jed fiasco.
I actually picked up a VHS of it from Amphibian. It's a Russian PAL tape because just the beautiful poster of Anastasia Vertinskaya in blue was just too beautiful to pass
awesome.
up.
Is that on the box art?
It is on the box art for $50.
Worth every ruble.
To me, it is.
Well, I'll buy the poster for $50. Okay, and we're back.
Hey, let's give out some awards.
Great idea. So, we'll start with Gala. Best film.
Oh, best film. Oh, God, why do you have to do this to me, Quentin? Why? Well, I know it's not the Choirboys. I'm going to give it to the Amphibian Man because even though I love Hennessy and I love Rod Steiger, he can still win Best Actor in my heart. But the Amphibian Man was like a really nice surprise. I kind of thought I was going to go in and just see like a murky monster movie. And instead I found a really touching love story.
Yeah, listen, I love Hennessy, but I'm going to say that Amphibian Man is for all audiences. And based on almost that alone and that it excels at doing so, I'm going to throw my eggs into the Amphibian Man basket.
Well, if we're talking about Hennessy versus Amphibian Man, okay.
I think that is what we're talking about.
That is what we're talking about.
Sorry, Choirboys, you're out.
I think Amphibian Man is definitely the timeless classic of the bunch. But simply because it has been so well represented, if I was with a bunch of heathens, all right, that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, then I might be choosing Amphibian Man just to shove it down their throats. But since that's not the case, and I respect where you guys are coming from Amphibian Man, I'm going to make a stand for wonderful journeyman filmmaking done at expert level. And that's in the case of Hennessy.
And that's what it is. Yeah. And you know what? No one
here is going to complain that Hennessy's getting a vote.
Hennessy and how it stuck with us and how it stayed with us and how it's almost festered within us earlier. And since we've watched it.
No.
It's been...
Hennessy has grown exponentially from the time that we've seen it.
Yeah.
And also, I think they're both movies you can watch over and over and over again and still have a really good time.
I think that's definitely the case with Amphibian Man. If you're a kid, you're probably going to see Amphibian Man as many times as you've seen Frozen or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Dare I say best actor?
Only because you want to hear me say his name, Rod Steiger.
Yeah, it's Rod Steiger.
Rod Steiger.
Yeah, I mean,
Our man Rod.
when Rod Steiger is on, one of our episodes, it's very
It's
likely
his to lose.
It's his to lose.
Like
what can
Palance,
you do?
it's his to lose.
Yeah, what can you do against the great?
Right on. Okay.
How about supporting actor? Is there a supporting actor?
Okay.
I have
well,
one.
yes, there is a
Yes.
supporting actor.
Because to me, I'm going to Choirboys.
Oh, yeah, no, I got it.
It's Robert Webber, baby.
It's Robert Webber.
I got you by the balls.
Because I got you by the
And I'm
balls.
squeezing.
Squeeze it. Well, if you got everything, what do you need me? Because I got you by the balls. And I'm squeezing.
If only Rod Steiger had been there to deliver that.
He wouldn't have done it as good as Robert Webber.
You're right. And that's why
30-year career is
Yeah.
I finally got the good line.
Yeah, and-
I'm everybody's limp dick, and now here I am, and I've got the squeezing your balls line, and I'm squeezing Charles Durning's fucking balls. Those are big balls to squeeze.
Yeah, I haven't liked him as much since. I mean, maybe SOB was the other movie that he's in that I
And
really love.
he's disgusting in us.
Yeah. He's kind of a very similar vein.
Yeah.
I don't have his name, but I like the husband, the evil husband, pearl diver in the Amphibian Man.
He would be the Paul Newman guy.
Yeah.
He would be absolute. If it wasn't for the true late career greatness of Aldrich vet Bob Webber.
Yeah.
And also just the fun of watching an actor that I can't stand be terrific and then actually have that moment. The Paul Newman guy from Amphibian Man would
whatever his name is, Paul Newman guy.
Okay. Best actress.
I can't remember her name.
Lee Remick.
Yeah, there you go.
Lee Remick.
Both of you pick Lee Remick?
Yes, okay. Even though I could pick Anastasia Vernskaya because I think she's really beautiful, and in Russian her voice is really it's a little bird singing to me. Lee Remick brings a really touching character.
I'm gonna go with what's her last name? Anastasia.
Her name is Anastasia Vertinskaya.
Vertinskaya. I'm gonna go with Anastasia Vertinskaya. I think she's beautiful in the film. She's so kind of perfect in the movie. It's one of those things that I'm going to remember her forever, but I'll always remember her for playing this character.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about, but I did like Lee Remick in it. I liked her Irish accent because it didn't seem like she didn't work it to death. All right, but it was just functional, but in a pro, in an acting pro kind of way.
She sold it.
Yeah, she sold it. And even the whole downness of her whole character, I thought was really kind of interesting for her.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's also one of those things where it's like, I kind of think that's the character. I think you guys were responding to the character.
You're right. You're right.
More than her performance.
You're right.
But she's fine in it.
I'm responding to how well she sells her character.
Okay. Okay, I'll go for that. I'll definitely go for that. I'll go for that. Okay, so
how about supporting actress?
Okay.
Because there is only one
balls?
in my mind.
Okay, to me,
Go ahead and say it.
I think Queen Elizabeth.
Yes, that's the one. House of
Hennessy,
Windsor.
Yeah.
For the best reaction shot of all time.
Yes.
It's not an animal reaction shot, it's the Queen reaction.
Yeah, the Queen reaction shot wins her best supporting actress. And, and the thing about it is, I'm not even trying to be funny by saying that. It's a testament to the movie that they make the Queen a character. She becomes a character by the final part of the film. She's an actual character.
And the editing on that is so good because that reaction shot is actually what sells the gag in Hennessy.
It sells the whole damn thing. And they're selling the whole thing. But when they do that, then it's just sold.
Yeah.
Lock, stock, and barrel.
I'll go with the Queen.
I am choosing Elizabeth II as well.
Okay.
God rest her soul.
All right.
May she rest in peace.
Yes.
My queen. As a servant of the crown.
Yes, as the two servants of the crown at the table here.
Yeah.
Director.
Okay, so this is actually tough for me.
Yeah, this is tough.
Because I think Hennessy is done with such a deft hand. But I'm compelled to give it to Vladimir Chebotarayov and Gennady Kazansky.
Gennady Kazansky and Vladimir Choirboys.
Look at you, like, whipping
There
out
you
those.
go. I gotta-
But the fact of the matter is, these directors captured in every single shot a beautiful frame and dynamic movement. There was only one clumsy moment of stage lines that seemed.
Yeah.
It was just one moment where I was like, wow, I've been watching somebody who's really at command, and then suddenly there were all these stage lines getting crossed, and it felt clumsy. Just the briefest of moments. So it's one of these two was off point that day.
I'm going to go with Don Sharp because I think the success of the film really kind of sits in his lap.
It does.
As opposed to the entire apparatus of Soviet filmmaking behind him.
Yeah. In fact, one might say that he has the government against him making his movie.
That's so funny.
One could say that. One could say that. One could definitely say that.
So you've got a government-backed movie and a kind of anti-government movie.
Okay. Not again. But I always have to preface it. Not that Hennessy is going to be a movie like Amphibian Man that for a billion people is a seminal classic that will live on for their lives and their children's lives and their children's lives, which is what Amphibian Man is.
Yeah.
What Amphibian Man means in Russia cannot be overestimated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Don Sharp or Hennessy also, because the movie relies also on like the tightening of the rope and just, I don't know, I think he nails it. Like without his directorial stamp and fingerprint on it, I don't think it would have succeeded as a movie.
Even the idea that one of the most suspenseful sequences is when the IRA has set a trap for him in the middle of the movie. Now we know the traps can't work because you got to get him to Buckingham Palace, and it was still one of the most suspenseful scenes that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Oh god! Now I'm thinking about Rod Steiger like putting on like his makeup and his hair and like doing the whole Mission Impossible thing. I'm getting like goosebumps from it again.
And then when after it was all over, that was when Roger, go Hennessy, go Hennessy, go
Hennessy.
Okay, here's the hardest one: editing.
Oh,
because they both rely on editing.
Yeah.
I think it has to be Hennessy just because those reaction shots are edited in so well, and just the footage and like the documentary style of it is just I think it's edited just so well.
Nevertheless, Amphibian Man is cut from the cloth of Soviet film editing. It's one of the reasons why it works.
Yeah. If
every montage is set in place.
Yeah. One could say no one understands editing or montage better than the Soviets. Mm-hmm. Better than Pudovkin, who probably was teaching these guys at school.
I still go with Hennessy. I just have to make a case, Sarah. But I have to make the case. I have to, because that's a good case. That's a case worth making.
That is a good case, but Hennessy.
Hennessy. But Roger, you haven't chosen yet for editing.
Okay, so
Hennessy.
You know what? Amphibian Man has such elegant, crafted pacing. And it feels as though all of the shots are like panels out of, a Tailspin Tommy comic. Comic strip.
Yeah.
It just,
and you made the point, not a comic book, a comic strip.
It specifically looked like a comic strip to me. And like
Modesty Blaze comic strip, where they tell a long story over the course of
and the
4
way
months.
and the kind of pacing where it just felt like every single shot was a frame that was linked like a chain. Boom, boom, boom. And you're just watching this great story unfold. They're like pages that you're turning. Literally, and I was evenly turning pages as I was watching it. Now, having said that, Hennessy has a harder job.
Yeah.
Because it has to tighten the rope to the end, at the end in a much more difficult way, in a much more, it has to be much more stressful.
Yeah. In fact, if Amphibian Man has a problem is that it doesn't get tighter as it gets to its third act.
Yeah. But Hennessy, on the other hand, is just incredibly deft.
Yeah.
And plus it's interweaving actual footage, real footage with their shot footage. It's just elegant. Okay. So the award goes to Eric Boyd Perkins, the editor of Hennessy.
What about art direction?
Oh, that's gotta be Amphibian Man.
Yeah, that's for sure Amphibian Man. And I actually even wrote down it's Vosevlod.
It's definitely not the Choirboys.
Yulitko and Tamara Vasikovkaya. Costume. I mean, I have to go with Amphibian Man on costumes.
Well,
Not just because of Amphibian Man. The clothes that the Paul Newman guy wears.
Yeah, he's
and
great.
also the dresses that the
dresses
girl's
she wears,
wearing.
and that crazy red.
The red bathrobe, all right?
Red bathrobe
that
the bad guy
Paul
wears.
Newman wears.
I want that.
I love. No, but that bathrobe, that's like a Franco Guerrero bathrobe,
Oh,
all right?
yeah.
Black and red. All right.
Did we already do cinematography?
No, we didn't.
No, we
actually.
did not.
I think that would probably go to Amphibian Man too.
Well, except that the DP of Hennessy, Ernest Stewart, did such an amazing job matching. And you have to think about, like, he's got to match everything so that by the end of the movie, it's going to seamlessly cut together with their found footage. And so that is, I mean, I've gone back and forth on this because I've gone back and forth on this.
You're making a great case, and I'm ready to give it to him for that case alone. However, the Amphibian Man photography is so good that it can be shown in complete color. It can be shown
16 millimeter black and white,
16 millimeter 2% color, and practically sepia.
Yeah.
All right, and it can be shown in black and white on television.
Yeah,
and it survives all versions.
Yeah, I'll go with that. That you just convinced me. I mean, that is the absolute truth of it. Is that it's
and it's magical in every version.
It survives, and it was so powerful watching it visually. And you're right, we were watching.
And also the underwater sequences are beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, there's that one shot where we're looking down toward the bottom of the ocean, and we see Amphibian Man way down low, and then suddenly he swims upward. Yeah. And the frame,
that's a true Submariner shot.
Oh, it was incredible. I like it was just such a beautiful shot, and how close he came to the camera as he lifted up. It was like an airplane like zooming past. It was great. So yeah, the underwater photography was beautiful.
Okay, well, I think that wraps it up for us. I'm Quentin Tarantino.
I'm Gala Avery.
And I'm Roger Avery.
And we're saying goodbye for another exciting episode of the Video Archives podcast. Be kind, rewind.
Bye-bye. See you next time.
Do svidaniya, comrade.
We are officers and brothers, every race and creed. And we stand beside each other in every thought and deed.
The Video Archives podcast is hosted by Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery and produced by Josh Richmond and Gala Avery. Our engineer is Devin Torrey Bryant, and our executive producers are Colin Anderson and Natalie Mualem. Find out more about the show by heading to videoarchivespodcast.com. You can also find us on Twitter @VideoArchives and on Instagram @VideoArchivesPod.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Pension's really neat. Keeps you off the street when you got no place to go. Butter up the cheek. Never cause a beat.
Have you ever wanted to hear Mick Garris discuss the differences between original source material and the movies they become? Or Joe Russo's favorite gateways into horror? What about author Max Brooks and how he thinks that Minecraft will literally save humanity? Join me, reporter on the beat Gala Avery, as I get to the bottom of these topics on my new show, The Gala Show. In this weekly podcast, guests from Los Angeles and beyond have 30 minutes on the clock to bring whatever topic they want to the mic. So, tune in every Thursday for a new guest with an entirely new topic. The first episode drops October 26th, available wherever you get your podcasts.